In the world of comic books, there are many individuals who have claimed the title of the Flash. Well, in the 2020s to about 2023, there was an attempt to bring back Wally West as the main Flash, and it was written by an individual known as Jeremy Adams. Today we're going to be collecting all of those issues that we covered over on the main Comicstorian channel in what we call a full story. This is all of the comic book videos we did on the main channel, so you can enjoy the entire return of Wally West. A lot can happen in the blink of an eye. 1 minute, you're just a normal kid. The next, you're fighting crime besides your hero. Or you've fallen in love, or you became a father, or a cautionary tale. Huge moments made up in seconds, blinks, which for normal people pass by with hardly a notice. But for the fastest man alive, and the time it takes to blink your eye, the whole world can change. As the Justice League stands there, staring at Wally West, Flash asks, "What do you mean you quit, Wally?" Wally responds, "I love being a hero. I love being a part of the League, but everything that's happened with Linda, the kids, Roy, I just can't do it anymore, Barry, and it's not fair to anyone." As Flash tries to think of something to change his mind, Green Arrow tells him, "Kid's right." Flash says he doesn't think, but Green Arrow stops him. "Look, if the kid is saying he's had enough, then he's had enough. Why would you want him to keep going, Barry? Do you want Wally to lose control again?" Flash stops him right there. "Okay, that's not really fair." And Green Arrow goes on, "No, it's not fair, but it's the truth, Barry. Fair would be Roy standing here instead of Wally, but he's not. So let him go. It's safer for everyone. Just wish we'd had this notion before what happened at Sanctuary. Before 10 people lost their lives, Wally." Superman interjects. "Wally, Green Arrow's wrong." And Wally responds, "Is he though?" Batman then goes on, "Whether Green Arrow is right or wrong, with the discovery of the Omniverse, we don't have time for heroes who are half in, half out. It'll only lead to disaster. I'm really sorry, but things are finally back to normal at home, guys. I just don't think I can be in the League. The kids aren't having nightmares anymore. We're all breathing a little bit easier. I want to keep it that way." Flash stops him. "It's okay. I get it. We'll figure something out. As long as this is what you want. If you need anything, Wally, just ask." Wally hugs Flash and he says, "Actually, there's one thing." The next day, Wally walks with Flash and Linda asks if he's sure about this. Wally says they talked about this. If he keeps his speed powers, he'll use them, and eventually, that'll put her and the kids in danger, and he can't do that again. Flash then says he can still change his mind. There's lots of things out there, but Wally tells him that he's had his fair share of adventures. It's time to concentrate on family and not be a Flash. Besides, it's not like he's going anywhere, just hanging up the super sneakers. Flash says to cut him off in the Speed Force, they'll be moving as fast as they possibly can. Wally laughs. "Can you keep up, old man?" "Well, I am the fastest man alive, Wally." The two get into their positions, and in an instant, they're off. They run through different cities around the globe, across oceans, and then finally into the Speed Force. Once they get a good pace, Flash asks if he's ready, and Wally says, "Yeah, let's do it." Flash mentally preps himself to assist with cutting Wally off, since this isn't the first time that he had to separate someone from the Speed Force before. People like Eobard Thawne. He just never thought that one day he'd be separating Wally West. And just as the Flash is about to get ready and disconnect Wally, something happens and there is a flash of light. Flash calls out to Wally, but the lights begin to pull at him until there's nothing left, and as Flash stops, the only thing left of Wally is his costume. He picks it up and he begins to run again, but he stops. And then he looks at himself asking, "Are my powers gone?" A short while later, after picking the Flash up, Green Arrow asks what does he mean by gone, and Flash tells him it's like he said. 1 minute he was about to sever Wally's connection to the Speed Force, and then next this surge of energy washed over them. Wally could be lost in the Speed Force, or Green Arrow stops him. Dead. Flash stares at the controls for a moment and then says that Wally is still out there. They'll have to find him and bring him back. He's already remotely prepping the Justice League lab. He'll need a tachyon emitter and the math to do the calculations, and he's going to need some help. Elsewhere, Wally groans as he finds himself in the middle of a forest wearing nothing more than a loincloth. He gets up asking if he lost his powers. Where is he? And as he looks up at the giant dinosaur, he realizes he's not in Kansas anymore. Oh boy! Over at the Hall of Justice, Flash says that he's spoken with Max, Jay, and Wallace, and they've all confirmed their powers have also disappeared. Green Arrow asks what does it mean, and then a voice tells him that something has severed their connection to the Speed Force. Flash looks back, welcoming Mr. Terrific, and Terrific says that he appreciates being asked to help. He loves problems of this magnitude. As everyone looks at the projector, Green Arrow asks, how do they know that Wally disappeared though? And Flash says because whatever happened, it didn't kill him. You can only assume the Speed Force took him. Green Arrow's stunned. Wait, can it do that? And Flash tells him there is a lot we don't know about the Speed Force. It's like a form of cosmic radio waves, invisible to the naked eye, but waiting to be picked up by the right conduit. And Wally, he has a special connection to it. Mr. Terrific says define special, and Flash says that he thinks that it may have chosen him, or at least is using him for something. Maybe it's rebooting. Green Arrow then says, or it's wounded. Animals, if they're hurt, they pull in on themselves, protect what they have, and maybe the Speed Force is nursing its wounds. Flash then says that could be why it wanted Wally, to help fix whatever's going on. Mr. Terrific says that if Wally is still connected to the Speed Force, and Flash says he can track him, let's get to work. Meanwhile, back with Wally, he looks at all the primal wildlife and asks if he's dreaming. Of course he isn't dreaming, he time traveled. He's done it 100 times before. Could really go for a drink though. As he kneels down next to a pond, he reaches in and then yells that they've got to be kidding. He takes a closer look, and in the water's reflection, he sees somebody else looking back at him. He motions, and the reflection mimics, and he asks, am I a caveman? Am I inside of a caveman? This is new and it's very... But before he could finish, an alligator leans up out of the water, snapping at him. Wally jumps back using his powers and says, well, at least he's got those going for him. However, when he runs, he notices that he isn't quite that fast. At least not fast enough to jump through the barrier. But before he could even slow down, a raptor jumps out at him faster than one should ever be. It's a Speed Force raptor. Back at the present, Green Arrow asks how is this thing supposed to work again? He isn't really as smart as them. How are they going to project a message into the Speed Force? Mr. Terrific says that they are basically reversing the imaging processors in his T-spheres to project Flash's voice via tachyon waves into the Speed Force. Theoretically, it should be like a telephone signal, and if Wally, if he's in the Speed Force, should act as the receiver. Green Arrow says, well, heck, let's get this party started. Ready, Dr. Frankenstein? Flash nods, and Mr. Terrific activates the machine with Flash calling out to Wally, asking if he can hear them. Back in the past, Wally holds the raptor back, stating that these things are so much cooler in the movies. And as he manages to throw the dinosaur off, he can hear something calling out to him. But before he could try and listen, the Speed Force energy starts to spark up around the raptor, and Wally asks, wait, is that supposed to happen? Suddenly, the raptor bolts forward, with Wally narrowly jumping out of the way, asking, is it a Speed Force raptor? As he runs away, he can hear the Flash calling out to him, asking, is what? Where? Flash yells, it worked! And Wally goes on stating, are you talking to me in my head? Flash tells him that there's no time. They're working on a way to get him out of the Speed Force like last time, but Wally says, actually, it's a new thing. I'm not in the Speed Force. I'm somewhere in the Jurassic Park era. Flash is stunned. The 90s? And Wally yells, no, the one with actual dinosaurs. There's literally a velociraptor chasing me, which, by the way, has Speed Force powers. Flash tells him, I don't understand, and Wally tells him, that makes two of us, and this isn't even the weirdest part. There may be a possibility that I took over some caveman's consciousness, so whatever it is that you're doing back there, do it fast, guys. After getting a lead on the raptor, Wally hides in a bush stating, okay, you've got a theory as to why this has happened, and you better give me the short version. Flash tells him, well, we think that you got swept up in the surge of Speed Force energy that catapulted your consciousness into an open conduit for power somewhere along the timeline. Wally asks why him though, and Flash tells him, because you have the strongest connection to the Speed Force. Our working theory is that it might be using you to fix whatever is going wrong with it. The only issue is that we don't know what's wrong with it. Wally sighs. That's wonderful. But before he could finish the sentence, the raptor creeps into the bushes and the two of them take off once again running. Except this time, Wally sees the raptor stop. Flash asks him what's wrong, and Wally tells him that the Speed Raptor is shaking, like Shakira, which I'm pretty sure it isn't supposed to be doing. Just then, the Speed Force energy in the raptor begins to build up, and Wally starts running, stating, oh, that can't be good. As the energy begins to erupt, creating a massive explosion, Wally is only barely able to stay ahead of it. Flash begins to yell, just run! But before long, Wally is swallowed by the blast. He blinks, looking around, and he says that he sees that he is now somewhere else, wearing something else. Flash asks him what happened, where is he, and Wally says, yeah, about that I have no idea. I could be in the future, or space, or future space. Yeah, I have no clue. Flash tells him to look around. Does he see anything Thanagarian, Ronian? Wally turns to the glass reflection of himself and says, oh, no, never mind. I'm in the future. I'm in Bart's body. Let's just say his costume is snug. Flash yells, that's great. That era has time-traveling devices. We can use them to get you back so we can figure out what's going on. Wally responds with, great. Just give me a few moments. And Flash asks him, what's wrong? Wally looks back at the looming shadow over him and says, well, that's new. And a giant alien reaches for Wally with Gold Beetle shouting, what are you doing? Run! As Barry Allen, aka The Flash, reaches out from underneath the computer, he asks Green Arrow to hand him the multimeter. Mr. Terrific says that the thermocouplers are attached, T-spheres are ready, and Green Arrow hands the Flash the multimeter and asks, so what are we doing again? Flash runs out of the computer, stating that Wally has somehow been swept away by the Speed Force, and he's been thrown into another Speed Force conduit, which is how Mr. Terrific and he found Wally in the first place. If they can get an audio signal out, they're guessing that they can get a visual one to Wally. Green Arrow says, right. So how did you suddenly get your speed powers again, Barry? Because you lost them when you were trying to help Wally. And Flash says, well, I didn't get them back precisely. After the Speed Force dinosaur exploded, I felt my connection to the Speed Force re-emerge. It's not strong, but I'll take what I can get. Mr. Terrific then says that Wally has really been converted into pure Speed Force energy. This should catch that energy and transmit back the visual cues from the host that he is currently inhabiting, aka Impulse. Green Arrow then tries to understand all of this. So, like a TV. And Mr. Terrific tells him that that is a terrible oversimplification of what they're doing, but in concept, yes. Flash flips the switch and says, let's just see if this works, and Wally can be heard. Well, that's new. Flash asks him what's new, and Wally says, nothing. Meanwhile, in the future, Gold Beetle runs towards him yelling, Impulse, run! And as Gold Beetle tackles who she thinks is Impulse, Wally asks, what's with the giant hand? And Gold Beetle says, real funny, Bart! Whatever you did to that Dominator made it grow to the size of Gore Kong. Wally tries to run, but he notices that his speed powers aren't working, and he begins to yell out, what's wrong? Gold Beetle tells him that that would be the power dampener that the tall, ugly thing slapped on his neck. Luckily, once they get to the ground, they'll be able to remove it. So Wally shouts, by the time we hit the ground, we're gonna be dead! And Gold Beetle tells him, it's okay, go limp, it'll hurt less! Before Wally could even ask, the two fall into the gold bug, and Gold Beetle tells Beats that she appreciates the save. Flash asks if Wally's alright, and Wally tells him that he's fine, maybe? Once the two sit down, Gold Beetle says that she knows that he always says that a Flash runs towards danger, but whatever he did this time really bent the space-time continuum out of shape. Before he says, but, GB, this Dominator killed my dad. She gets it. But if they don't want to break the timeline again, he better be more careful. Flash asks who's speaking, and Wally says, I have no idea. So Flash says to Wally again, she looks like both of, you know. In any case, you might be better off on your own, Wally. We don't know. But Gold Beetle says, wait, who the heck is Wally? And Flash asks, wait, did you hear me? Gold Beetle laughs, of course I did. I just needed to adjust the head net settings that I got from the 853rd century to whatever wavelength Mr. Nasally is using. And Plaxo Naxo, I can hear everything you're saying. Wait a minute. Holy crack noise. Wally, as in Wally West? It's me, Gold Beetle, Queen of the Quantum Realm, Wave Rider Warrior, Tiara of Time, the... Wally stops her. Right, the blue and the gold. Time Traveler. It's, nice to meet you. Oh. Is this your first time meeting me? Wow, you said this would be dangerous, and hey, you were right, Wally, but you're the captain, so Wally stops her. Wait, Captain, we work together? You must be confused, because when I get home, I'm retiring. That is hilarious. You have like 5 more crises to get through. We've gone on loads of adventures, like galactic space races, but just then Beats tells her that she should probably remember the time rules and not divulge too much information if this is his first time meeting her. She pauses. Yeah. But why are you inside of Impulse? Where's Impulse? Beats says that Bart's conscious self was probably sublimated when Wally was transferred inside. There are no tachyon particles, so this isn't the time travel. Flash stops. Okay, we think the Speed Force is, well, hurt, and it might be using Wally to fix it, Gold Beetle. Gold Beetle thinks for a moment. Okay, I have an idea. Beats, access 30 seconds pre-point of chronal disturbance without outlying chamber. A screen pops up showing Impulse being ambushed by the Dominator when suddenly he releases a burst of Speed Force energy. Wally says that the Speed Force looks for conduits at their weakest point. It's like a leak in the fuel line causing fuel pressure to drop. That looks like what's happening when Impulse has the power dampener put on him. Flash says that would explain it. After they sealed the last leak, he could feel his powers returning as if the Speed Force was regaining its equilibrium. Gold Beetle interrupts everyone. Well, whatever it is, that must be what infected the Dominator and caused it to enter super bulk phase. Mr. Terrific stares at the visuals. The dinosaur gained super speed and the Dominator increased in size. Obviously, the Speed Force affects various physiologies differently. Flash stops him. Well, it would seem that that's the case, Mr. Terrific. But I'm worried about what happened to the dinosaur could happen to the Dominator, and it could cause a massive explosion. If we don't find a way to siphon off this energy, Wally asks, what about the device that Inertia tried to use? Do they still have that? The thing that Inertia tried to use to defeat Impulse. Flash stops him. Well, yeah, it's in the Speed Force lab. So Wally tells him that maybe if they put it in the time capsule, they could, and Gold Beetle asks, steal? I love heists. Best thing in the multiverse outside of Chacos. The one thing your era got right. Wally tells her that they aren't really stealing, could they just go to the Flash Museum? One short flight later, Gold Beetle says that there she is. The Flash Museum, the repository for all things Flash, including that doohickey that you were just talking about. One problem is that the museum is now designed specifically to keep speedsters out, since the only type of villains that attempt to break in are, well, that, as well as Bart. Wally says, okay, so how are we going to get in then? And Gold Beetle says the same way Bart has broken in 12 times, being impulsive. She flies her ship, crashing into the lobby, letting Wally out, and as he runs, he yells, "You are crazy!" And Gold Beetle laughs, "Haha, crazy as a Targaryen fox!" A few seconds later, Wally returns with a bust of Jay Garrick, and Gold Beetle says, "You're just in time!" The two of them are then surrounded by several Flash androids telling them, "Halt, please remain until the authorities are alerted." Gold Beetle sighs, "Don't they know anything about speedsters? They can barely sit still." Wally, close your eyes. Wally does, asking, "What are you doing?" And suddenly there's a blinding light that begins to shine. All of the androids begin to state, "Ocular disruption, adjust settings, Corey missing, we have failed." Again. As the two begin to back off, Flash radios telling them, "Remember, do not turn on the device until I have placed it on the target. If we're right, it could siphon the Speed Force energy off, and then we'll be able to seal the leak." Wally asks what happens after that, and Flash goes on telling him, "We think that once it stops the leak, you'll be pulled to another conduit that's been weakened, provided that there are more leaks that need to be plugged." So wait, I'm gonna be bouncing from speedster to speedster until you stop all of the surges? Flash, is this Quantum Leap? Flash tells him that he was just swept away. The only thing that remained was his costume. Well, if his costume maintained its structure and his physical form disappeared, Mr. Terrific interrupts. "We're afraid that your consciousness is now non-corporeal." Wally realizes what this means. "Wait, I'm a ghost?" And Mr. Terrific says, "You're an energy being looking for a receptacle. All we have to do is..." Wally shouts, "I am not going to become an android. Do you know what my wife is going to do to me if she finds out? I might as well be a ghost because she's going to kill me. And for now, work on getting me my body back. I'm currently coming up on the target. You know what to do, right, Gold Beetle?" She yells, "Yup, be impulsive!" And she flies the gold bug directly into the Dominator's head. Wally jumps out, running up to the Dominator's mouth, stating, "It's all up to you, Wally West. Pitching for the Central City Diamonds. Hoping for a perfect game." He winds up, "Here comes the pitch!" He throws the device into the Dominator's mouth, and the Dominator swallows, and within seconds, it begins to shrink. As Wally leaves it back onto the gold bug, Gold Beetle watches the news feeds of the Dominator being captured, stating that that's another win for the good guys. Flash then says that with the leak closed, Wally will be pulled back into the Speed Force stream. And Gold Beetle, that device that was inside of the Dominator, she'll need it back and she'll need to dispose of it. She laughs, "Of course I will. I will absolutely dispose of this thing." Wally laughs at her, and then suddenly he feels something, and Flash says that they are getting some strange readings. Wally tells him that it's working. He's starting to be pulled back, but before going, Gold Beetle jumps up, hugging him. "Thanks. I'm really gonna miss you. And when I do meet you for the real first time, don't do the thing with the stun discs, okay?" Wally smiles, "Sure?" Gold Beetle tells him that if he needs anything, just, cause a temporal disturbance. Wally pauses and thinks for a moment and then whispers something in her ear. And she tells him, yeah, she's got it. But as she holds Impulse, he asks, what's going on? I said before, I totally won't break time again." She continues hugging him, telling him, "Shh. She's having a moment. And a few moments later, Wally begins to blink and Flash asks what happened. Where did he go? But all Flash can hear is Adolf Hitler yelling, "The American Übermenschen has been captured. The Spear of Destiny belongs to the Third Reich." It was the 1940s as Happy Terrell, the man known as Ray, quietly sits in the waiting room. In a sudden flash, Jay Garrick sits beside him and Ray says he didn't even see him there. Jay laughs, telling him that he gets that a lot. Been waiting long? And Ray glares, telling him 40 minutes. Jay says, "Really? Sorry about that. My name is Jay Garrick, and you are?" Jay reaches out to shake his hand, and Ray doesn't move, stating, Happy Terrell. Jay laughs again, telling him that's great. But as Ray doesn't follow up, Jay says, "Oh, you were being serious." At that moment, a woman walks in, telling them that the president will see them now. And once inside, the president says, "Gentlemen, would you like to end this war?" Later that night, over the Philippines, Ray says that he has heard a lot about the famous Flash. There are a lot of stories about him. Jay gets his bag ready and tells him that he wishes that he could say the same about him. He's worked with a few masked men before. How has he never heard of the Ray? Ray tells him that the president likes to keep what he does in the dark, which is ironic. Once the two get ready, they jump onto the plane and they make landfall with Jay laughing, asking, "Can you believe it? We're looking for the Spear of Destiny, the same one that pierced the side of Christ while he was on the cross. They say that whoever wields it will control the world. Can you believe it?" And Ray tells him, "No, I don't." So Jay tells him, "Oh, a non-believer. What do you think it is then?" Ray tells him that it's something that Hitler wants, and that's the only reason he needs to stop him from getting it. The two move out to the location, and they find some quiet ruins where the intel says the spear is. As they quietly sneak in, Jay asks, "What is this place?" But just then there's a sudden flash as the lights come on and they feel their powers disappear. While they look at each other, a man is holding up the spear, telling them that if they are wondering about their powers, it would be my fault. My name is Otto Fritz, and it would seem that your government calls me Parsifal. So as you can see, your powers are useless, which ironically is my gift. And now it isn't just one weapon I will be returning to the motherland. It is 3! Jay shouts that he'll never get away with this, and Parsifal laughs as the two are subdued, telling them that their friends won't be coming from the Philippines. They have no idea where to even go! As the two are thrown into the brig of a German cruiser, they're beaten mercilessly for weeks. But if there was one thing that Ray could count on, it was Jay's belief that they would make it out alive somehow. However, during the 5th straight week, it was Jay who was beginning to fade. Ray stared as Jay hung lifelessly, praying to God that if he does in fact exist, that they need his help more than anything. Just then, there's a sudden crack of lightning in Jay's body, breaking the chains, suspending them in the air. What Ray doesn't know is that bolt of lightning that struck Jay was actually Wally West coming in from the Speed Force, entering this dimension, this timeline. Wally's eyes shoot open and Ray asks, "You okay now, Jay?" Wally asks, "Jay?" And then he sees himself in the window's reflection touching his face. Oh man, Jay was old back then. Wally turns back asking if the blast of lightning just flew out of his chest, because if so, they need to be wherever it went. So the two sneak through the ship when they look through the window and suddenly see Hitler holding the Spear of Destiny, shouting that he has been blessed by God. He is the Übermensch! Wally looks at the lightning swirling around, telling him, "Oh, Hitler got powers from the lightning. Guess that solves where the lightning went." Wally looks to Ray. "We have to hurry. We need weapons to get information on anything related to the Spear of Destiny." And as Wally begins to navigate the ship like he knows it, Ray asks, "How do you know where to go?" Wally tells him not to worry. "Mr. Terrific, where's the next turn?" Wally finishes putting on his German soldier uniform with Ray asking why do they need to do this. And Wally tells him to trust him. If they don't do something now, Hitler is going to explode with the Speed Force energy that has been absorbed into him and take out half of the hemisphere. Out on the docks, Hitler holds the spear, stating, "I am the chosen one! A worthy enough man to wield the spear. God has found me!" Behind the barrels, Ray looks at asking, "Can we really just not shoot him?" And Wally says he doesn't know. Maybe? Can we? And Ray asks, "I'm asking you!" Hitler begins to board a plane with Wally stating that they need to hurry, but as they stand up, the other soldiers begin to shoot at them. They run towards the water and Ray asks if this is going to work, with Wally telling him that he just needs a little faith. Ray changes costume, scooping up Wally, flying into the sky, and Wally laughs, "Who's the Übermensch now, suckers?" Ray then asks, "Okay, when we get close, what's the plan?" And Wally says that once they get into the no-fly zone, they will But just then, Ray's powers fade and the two begin to plummet down towards the plane. Wally grabs his gun and begins to shoot holes in a circle so that when the two land, they crash through into the cargo. And they see Hitler holding the spear. Hitler shouts, asking, "Do you think you could stop me? I am the Führer!" As Hitler begins to use the spear, Ray can feel his body not listening to his commands. And for Wally, there's a spark, and for a moment, Jay wakes up asking, Where am I? Hitler says, "I rule the world!" And Jay races forward, punching Hitler, yelling, "Not on my watch!" During that split second, Ray hits Parsifal to break his hold, and then there's a second spark as Wally returns to Jay's body. That was weird. The spear! We gotta get it before he blows! Hitler loudly laughs that he can feel the power growing. It's growing! Ray lunges in, grabbing the spear, and as Hitler explodes, Ray puts up a shield to protect both him and Wally. A short while later, Wally wakes up asking, "Did we do it?" And Ray flies up, holding Wally, telling him that he's not so sure. He was knocked out too, but when they woke up, he was falling. There's no sign of Hitler or friends. Wally says that if there's no bodies, they might still be out there. And he missed his chance to punch Hitler. But soon Wally begins to feel the pull of the Speed Force as it is yanking him out of this timeline to move him somewhere else to repair the broken Speed Force, and he tells Ray to get him to a hospital. Ray tells him of course, but as Wally closes his eyes, Ray asks if he's okay. Jay? And as Jay wakes up, he says that he had this really weird dream. There was Hitler and, whatever you do, don't let me go. Ray laughs, telling him that he won't. Just need to have a little faith. Over the comms, Barry begins to yell into Wally's ear, asking, "Where are you now?" Wally blinks as he is surrounded by Lex and his Legion as they begin to vote. Lex yells out, "All in favor of admitting Reverse Flash into the Legion of Doom, say evil!" Wally says, "Evil? Oh no." As the final crackles of lightning die down, Wally finds himself in the body of Eobard Thawne in the middle of the Legion of Doom headquarters and a dead Superman on the floor. Wally looks around. Guys, I might have just done something terrible. Cheetah laughs, telling him that it would seem that he's trying to prove why he's deserving to be in the Legion of Doom. Well, this kitten doesn't need to see anything else. Shall we take a vote? Meanwhile, back in the current time, Barry tells Wally to just relax. He's watching everything, and he needs Wally to not freak out. The mission is the same. Find the surge that is damaging the Speed Force, drain it, and come back. Green Arrow tells him, "I don't get it. How long has Wally been gone? Shouldn't the Speed Force, release him already?" Mr. Terrific says, "I agree. Something is wrong." Barry thinks for a moment and then yells, "That's it! Wally is somewhere in the Omniverse. He has an infinite number of conduits to jump to." Green Arrow says that if that's true, that means that Wally might not ever make it home. Back in the alternate reality, everyone on board shouts, "Evil!" in favor of allowing Reverse Flash to join their ranks. Wally quietly looks around. "Right, thanks, guys." Cheetah tells him, "No, thank you. We didn't think it was possible, but you turned a little boy blue into a harmless chew toy." Lex Luthor stops. "Wait a minute. Something's not right. How did you do it? A random lightning bolt that exploded out of his chest? A power that if you had, Reverse Flash didn't put onto his application. So tell everyone, what else are you hiding?" Wally thinks for a moment and says, "Well, I'm not hiding anything. If I could tell you everything that I could do, you could use that against me. And knowing you, Lex Luthor, you probably have a file on everyone here." Everyone looks at Lex and he tells them, "That is not true." And Cheetah says, "Oh, I can smell a lie, Lex." Lex asks her, "How? You can't smell if someone's lying." But while all the supervillains begin to argue, Wally begins to sneak away when somebody clears their throat and everyone stops. Superman flies up, stating he doesn't know what they tried to do, but it didn't work. Wally begins to run, but as he runs into the next room, he finds himself in a large open room, and on the other side of the window is the infinite void of space. Pretty cliche, huh? The Legion of Doom is up in space? Superman then bursts through the ground, stating, "Give it up before anyone else gets hurt." And Wally goes, Wait! The energy running through your body, it's volatile. We need to find a way to drain it before it explodes." Superman laughs. "How exactly are you going to do that? Use the same power dampening ray that Luthor made to get me here in order to siphon it off? This S on my chest doesn't stand for stupid, pal." Wally asks, "Wait, Luthor did what?" But Barry tells them that they need to find out how Lex drained Superman's power before, so that they can use it to drain the surge. Wally thinks to himself that he just needs to find Lex. Never mind. Outside, Lex shoots through the glass with his kryptonite laser, stunning Superman, but as Wally is being sucked into space, he latches onto Lex's ship. He vibrates through it before Lex can get ready to kill Superman, telling him, "Wait! How did you drain Superman's power before? Lex tells him, that is proprietary information. I can't just... Wally then begins to slap him at supersonic speeds, and when he finally stops, Lex stares stunned and then points to the green button on the right of the steering column. Wally hits Superman with the power dampening ray, with Barry asking if it worked. As the explosion goes off, Wally tells him, yep, he can feel himself being pulled away. Lex jumps out of his seat shouting that he just absorbed too much energy. The ship is going to explode! Wally laughs, fine, you know what? I'll let you have it. Give me your best shot. I won't even move. As Wally is taken away, Eobard sees the oncoming punch, asking, wait, what? From there, Wally continued to drain the Speed Force surges one timeline at a time. Back in the Old West, Titan's Academy, the Justice Society, and some fight with a wizard? Finally, Wally stops in San Francisco, sitting in a cafe. Before he could even guess where he's at, the woman before him says, hey, Dad. Yes, I know you just got flung into the Speed Force, tossed through time, landing in various speedsters' bodies to stop the Speed Force surge from infecting and detonating anyone that it hits. Of course, there's more to that story, but we're not there yet. Wally looks at his own daughter. Iray? Iray tells him, yeah, don't worry, you landed in Jai's body. Thank goodness. About 20 years in the future. Wally looks at himself in the mirror. What about the surge? But Iray reaches over, telling him that Jai had his power dampener on. It went from him to another, and she absorbed it all, with hardly anyone noticing. Turns out she might be stronger in the Speed Force than he is, or anyone for that matter. She'll slowly release the energy, which gives them a few minutes before he has to go. Wally then asks, how did you know? And Iray says that he used to tell them this story every night before they went to bed. The stuff with the speed dinosaur was always their favorite. Wally gets up hugging her. You're so beautiful and tall. Most importantly, you're okay. His daughter looks up at him. Yes, yeah, I'm okay. As the two sit back down, Wally says that this is a dream come true. To know his daughter is alive and well and... Wait, is that a ring? She pulls her hand back. Yeah, I forgot to take it off. Yeah, I'm married. He's great. You hate him, though. Wally starts patting himself, asking, wait, what about Jai? Is he married? She lets out a loud, ha! No. Probably be careful with what I say because of the whole time continuum thing, but Jai is dating a girl. Oh, she's a bit of a time traveler. They work together from time to time, actually. Wally smiles. I may have already met her, but really, it's good to see you. You have no idea how much me and your mom worry about the two of you. Looks like I made the right choice retiring from being a hero. She spits out her coffee, laughing. Retired? For hearing? Oh, hey, that's our cue. A bolt of lightning strikes and Iray changes into her speedster costume. Ta-da! With Wally stating, wait, no, you're a superhero? But I quit! I didn't want this for you. She says that it isn't just her, and she points to Jai. You did keep us safe. You also taught us how to use our powers for good. You taught us how being a hero is doing the right thing no matter what. You didn't just teach us how to survive. You taught us how to thrive. Iray opens up a portal telling him to come on. She needs to show him something, and after yanking Wally out of his seat, Iray runs through space asking if he can see it. The Flash family has done all right for themselves. Wally looks ahead seeing a bright light with the Flash lightning bolt on it, asking what is it? And Iray tells him that he'll find out soon enough, but it's almost time for him to go, and before that, she has to tell him that he is a great dad, the best. The only thing that he might have been better at is being a superhero. However, what happens next is going to be hard, but trust me when I say that you're going to get through it. Put one foot in front of the other. Uncle Barry, I'm about to close off the conduit. If you're going to send a burst through the Speed Force, now's the time. Barry says that they're ready, but Wally says that he can't just go yet. And Iray tells him, it's okay. We have our whole lives ahead of us. I'll see you in the future, Dad. Suddenly, Wally is pulled back again, and when he opens his eyes, finds himself in a field. The field outside of Sanctuary. What Wally is looking at begins to sink in, and the only thing that Wally can mutter as he realizes where he is, no. Barry yells, asking what happened, and Wally says that it worked. I'm at Sanctuary. I'm at the moment when the explosion that went off, the one that killed everyone. It wasn't me. Barry, it was the surge. It wasn't me. Barry says he knows that this is hard, but does he see it? Does he see whatever was in the Speed Force that came out at this point? And Wally stands up looking at everyone suspended in time. There's a dome of Speed Force. Maybe. It seems like it's moving towards something in the field, but everyone is frozen. Maybe I can. Barry shouts, no, the temporal bubble is fragile. A point of frozen time if you disturb it. But Wally tells him, but if the explosion continues, they will die. There has to be a way to save everyone, Barry. We need to. Before Wally could finish the sentence, a voice calls out to him and he looks over to see Roy Harper getting up. What the hell happened, buddy? Wally runs over hugging him and Roy says, I just saw you run out and I thought something was wrong. Are you okay, Wally? Wait, Why is everyone... Okay, I'm starting to freak out. Like when Batman found out that Dick borrowed his car, freaked out. What's going on? Wally looks right at Roy. I killed you. I killed all of you. I thought I lost control. I did lose control. All this time, I thought it was my fault that I killed everyone. Of course this is where I would end up. Roy tells him, no offense, but you sound kind of nuts right now. Back in the current time period, Green Arrow asks, wait, is that Roy? And Barry says that this is going to be hard to say, but all of this happened. They're just experiencing it again. There's nothing that they can do. Roy still has to die. Green Arrow turns back shouting, what do you mean there's nothing we can do? Send Booster Gold! Call those linear guys! This is our chance to save my boy, Barry! Barry tells him that he understands the feeling, believe him. He went back in time, he changed it. And that small alteration almost destroyed the world. But then the computer begins to beep wildly, and Mr. Terrific says that he is getting some unusual readings from the Speed Force. Barry goes to run over, but he stops for a moment and says that his powers, they're fading. Meanwhile, back in the past, at Sanctuary, at the moment that everything changed for Wally West, he tells Roy that they have both been through a lot. Sidekicks, Titans, the League. And what he is about to say is going to sound crazy, but it's the truth. This moment is in my past. When I was here, before, I ran out of Sanctuary because I was having a panic attack. I tried to get away from the house, but you all followed, and this surge, it exploded out of me, and Roy, I killed everyone. That's where we are. We're in that moment, my weakest moment. I don't know, but Barry, Ollie, Mr. Terrific, they're all in the present, trying to make sense of all of this. No one knows why, but the Speed Force has been using me to help dislodge whatever is in it, whatever is causing all these problems, whatever is traveling through time, creating surges. The energy creates explosions. It hurts people, it damages things, and it kills everyone. It's getting worse, so we figured out a way to slow time like a time bubble. Roy then says that it would mean that if the bubble pops, everything that he said is going to happen. Well, Wally tells him not to worry about it. They'll figure it out. It's like he always said, don't leave before the miracle happens. Roy looks back at the Speed Force bubble asking, is it me or does it look like it's moving towards something? At that moment, a black cloud of smoke begins to form and a figure walks through with a scruff voice. So that is how it was able to push me out. Using one of its former slaves to do its bidding. But I am no slave. I am the Speed Force's master, the chosen one. I am the one who was foretold to become one with this great power, whether it wants it or not, for I have returned. Savitar will have his revenge. Roy looks at the man asking, who is Savitar? And Wally says that he's a crazed speedster who wants to become one with the Speed Force, but they thought that he was dead. Savitar begins to bring forth with him a Speed Force storm, stating that he has left its womb prematurely. But he still draws its sustenance. What it is will be his. Barry calls out that whatever Savitar is doing, it's affecting the present. He can feel his power draining, and Wally tells him not to worry, I've got it. But as Wally goes into attack, Savitar grabs him by the face, slamming him into the ground. Savitar leans down asking, do you think you can replace me as the heir to the Speed Force? It's too late for that! The Speed Force does my bidding, West. Roy then yells, calling attention to himself, but as Savitar looks up, Roy lets loose an arrow, telling him, leave my friend alone! Savitar easily catches it, telling him, you're going to need to try harder. But before he could finish, the arrow explodes, knocking Savitar away. Roy hurries over to help Wally up, but Wally says that it's that type of saving his butt that he misses. And Roy says that the Gingers have to stick together. So what's the word? Wally tells him that Savitar is vacuuming up all the Speed Force. If they don't stop him, well, Titans together? Yeah, Titans together, Wally. Before they could even stand up, Savitar begins to rip apart the ground, telling Wally, you may have been formidable, but no longer. I am the Speed Force, and to think all of this started from a small spark. But I awoke to find myself in a dark prison. I could hear others in the back, some pleading, some crying, peasants, one and all. I knew that I had but one option. After years of trying to access the Speed Force, it finally happened. A spark. Hope that I could leave. Hope for revenge. I have ascended. Floating inside the most powerful force of all of the multiverse. It tried to stop me and sent surge after surge to expel me from its corridors. But I have created an unshakable connection, a bond. And slowly I have absorbed what it is to become what I shall be. But then you appeared, an interloper, here to steal what is rightfully mine. Barry radios back stating that they have one shot at this. If he can re-enter the Speed Force, he has to vibrate his molecules, ride the wave of tachyon particles to its source. Wally asks what about his body, and Barry says that they think that Wally will reorganize into matter once he passes through the portal. And Wally responds, wait, you think? Roy then says, what you said about before, about killing us? I know the Wally that I know would never do that, okay? If the Speed Force causes an explosion to get rid of this guy, I have to imagine that he's pretty dangerous. And that means that we died in the line of duty. And that happens. It's part of the job. It's part of being a hero. And you know what? I wouldn't trade a day of it. Wally tells him no. I lived with this guilt for too long. I told Barry that I can't do it anymore, that I can't lose another friend. And Roy tells him, come on, man. We're never really gone, whether in memory or some cosmic hiccup. As I said, don't leave before the miracle happens, because it could happen tomorrow. But tomorrow, it may not be there if people like us give up. Do me a favor and drop that rock of guilt that you've been carrying around. You'll run faster. But there's one thing. Ollie, can he see and hear me? Wally nods, and the green arrow looks through Wally's eyes. Ollie, I love you. You were always there for me. You taught me to fight for what's right, even if it cost us everything to do it. You gave me something to live for. You gave me hope. You were a great dad, so no blaming anyone, okay? If I didn't do what I could to save the world, what kind of sidekick would I be? I only ever wanted to make you proud. And with one final smile, Roy turns back to the bubble, and he fires an explosive arrow, disrupting the time freeze. Wally tries to yell for him to wait, but Roy gives him a nod, and he tells him, I'll see you around, Wally. The Speed Force bubble bursts, causing the storm to fade and the events to unfold as they did in Heroes in Crisis. And as Roy falls back to the ground, he looks up. I love you, Leanne. The Speed Force surge explodes, taking all of the heroes of Sanctuary with them, killing each and every one of them. And in the present, Green Arrow screams for his son. He screams for Roy. He watches him die again. Mr. Terrific yells that Wally is back in the Speed Force, and if they want him here, now's the time. Barry, configure the portal for Wally's re-entry. It should reintegrate his molecules as he passes through. At that moment, Superman and Batman appear, stating that they heard the distress call. What's going on? Barry tells them that his name is Savitar, an evil speedster who's been soaking up the Speed Force. And they're going to need his help. Mr. Terrific sets the computer so that he'll be opening the temporal space in 5, 4, 3, and as the portal opens, Wally and Savitar come out fighting. But Savitar manages to throw Wally down. Superman lunges in, telling him, we don't have to do this. And as he punches, Savitar dodges every swing, launching Superman across the lab. I am one with the Speed Force! Green Arrow begins to launch dozens of arrows, shouting, it's your fault that Roy is... But Savitar dodges back and forth, knocking everyone out, leaving Barry to help Wally. Barry shakes him awake, telling him, we have to find a way to disconnect Savitar from the Speed Force. But I can't do it, my powers! Savitar has taken too much of it. It's up to you. What do you say, Flash? Barry holds out his ring and Savitar shouts, you! It was you that sent me there, to that prison! Savitar begins to crush Barry's neck, and then a red blur shoots by, forcing Savitar to let go. He groans, I tire of these games! After I drained the Speed Force of all of its power, I will return. But Wally stands up wearing Barry's costume, telling him, no, you're not going anywhere. Savitar laughs, look at you! You can barely stand. Ending you would be a kindness. And Wally tells him, I wondered why the Speed Force swept me up and sent me through time and space. Why it chose me? What I realized is that everywhere that it took me was where I needed to be. Showing me what being a Flash is all about. Outrunning danger, being impulsive, having faith, holding the line. Most of all, it reminded me of who I was, a hero. And if I was in the right place at the right time before, then I'm betting that right here, right now, I have a very particular reason for being here. Savitar looks at him. Oh, really? And what is that? What is your reason? Wally smiles. To be the fastest man alive. At that moment, there's a surge of Speed Force energy that passes through Wally, and he jets forward, punching Savitar so fast that the two go flying out of the lab. Wally looks at him. What's wrong? You're looking kinda slow. After one more punch, Savitar is knocked back, and he yells, so what if you found my raw connection to the Speed Force? It doesn't mean anything! Wally looks at him and smirks. It doesn't? Okay. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a 3-second head start, and then I'll show you how much it means. Savitar gets up and he begins to run, and Wally counts down from 3, and when he says 1, he rockets off right behind Savitar. Savitar yells, "No, this cannot be," but Wally laughs. Yes! And then he hits him from behind. Savitar skids to a stop, asking, "What happened to my powers?" And Wally tells him they're gone. "You were wrong. The Speed Force didn't choose you. You were an annoying kidney stone waiting to be passed. This might hurt your feelings, but the Speed Force, it chose me, the Flash. I'm the antibody tasked with getting rid of the invader. And guess what? Mission accomplished." Savitar glares back, asking, "Do you think that this is going to stop me?" "I will have my revenge! I will!" But a Speed Force portal opens up, pulling Savitar in as he yells, "No! I don't want to go back to the darkness!" When Savitar's locked away, back in the Speed Lab, Barry tells Wally that he gets it now. He was right. This line of work is dangerous, maybe retiring isn't so bad. But Wally laughs, telling him that he was wrong. If anything, this little trip through the Flash's history showed him how important it is to keep your super sneakers on. Tragedy is a part of life. But the thing that he realized is that in your weakest moment, there's always a bit of hope. If he stops running, stops being the Flash, if he's given that up, and he's not going to stop being a hero, especially knowing how many people need him to be a Flash. We all good, Mr. Terrific? Mr. Terrific tells him, well, not exactly. We need to run more tests, but the surge of Speed Force that went through you hypercharged you, and well, it's still there. Wally asks, what does that mean? And Barry says that he has access to that surge of energy, sort of like a nitro boost. Wally tells him, awesome, and Barry tells him, no, not awesome. We don't even know if your body can handle that much speed. Wally laughs, telling them that they're going to figure it out, and then Green Arrow walks up, telling him, hey, a lot can happen in a blink of an eye. You can lose everything, your name, your reputation, but they can be replaced with determination, strength, empathy, faith, a renewed sense of how blessed you are to just be alive, to have people who love you, who care for you. That only happens if you don't leave before the miracle, when you realize that tomorrow is a new day, that tomorrow brings hope, and hope is where we find redemption. My name is Wally West, and I am the Flash. Wally has returned to his home where he and Linda realize a very important problem is on their hands. Well, more so Wally. Wally looks over the bills. No. And Linda tells him saying no isn't going to make the bills go away. Perhaps they should ask one of his billionaire friends for some help? Wally tells her, no, I could never do that. It just feels weird, but maybe this could be a new beginning for Wally West. Like, I'm gonna go get a job, a paycheck paying job today. And if there's something he can find in Central City, it's a job. No surfing the net. They're going old school, knocking on doors and finding out what's available. After stopping by a dozen places and getting rejected, Wally eventually gets a chance at Speedy Lube, where he's anything but speedy. As Wally slams the hood down after servicing a car, the woman inside asks if he's got a couple of minutes. The woman inside laughs at him. A couple of minutes? Ha! It's been over an hour! The girls at the bridge club are going to hear about this. As she pulls out of the garage, Wally sighs. Great. First day in the job, and even the old ladies want me gone. But shortly after that, Mr. Terrific pulls up in a red sports car asking, what does it take to get some help around here? Wally laughs. Even you need an oil change, huh? Mr. Terrific looks at him. No. I just wanted to see where the legendary Wally West had landed. Wally says that this is something that he needed. A chance to take it slow. Plus, this place has some decent benefits. Mr. Terrific tells him, yeah. That's why I bought the chain. I now own Speedy Lube, Speedy Mart, SuperspeedDating.com. You know, gotta stay on brand. Wally tells him, well, thanks for the job. And Mr. Terrific says that that's the thing. You're fired, Wally. Instead, I have another job I'd like to offer you. And being a man running a successful business means hiring the right people for the right job is my job. This one isn't yours. Wally says that he isn't so sure, but Mr. Terrific tells him, I am one of the smartest men on the planet, and I'm telling you I have a better job offering. Only a stupid man wouldn't at least check it out. And Wally West isn't stupid. So later, over at Terrific Tech, Mr. Terrific brings Wally into the lab asking, how are you all doing? To which they all welcome Mr. Terrific. He says that he would like to introduce them to their new engineer. His name is Wally West. He's not only a friend, but someone that you could trust your life with. Wally, this is Marcy, Thomas, and Stevie. I'll go ahead and let you all get acquainted. As Mr. Terrific leaves, Wally follows, telling him, hey, wait a second, I appreciate all this, but I clearly don't fit in with the others. I could see it on their faces. Mr. Terrific tells him, that's the thing about being a good boss. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. And even though they are scientists, you're a mechanic, a hero, and a father. You aren't just one thing. You're more than a person that can move at the speed of sound, Wally. We're trying to learn about the multiverse. It'd be best to start figuring it out now before something bad can happen. At least see how much I'm offering you. Mr. Terrific hands over a check, and Wally tells him, you've got to be kidding. Mr. Terrific laughs. That'll keep you in sneakers for a few years. Just then, Mr. Terrific's watch beeps, and as he looks at it, he says that there's a fire downtown. Wally is confused. Can I go? Mr. Terrific tells him that that's another perk of working here. He can cut out whenever he needs to. I'll just tell the others that you're on special assignment. Wally races out of the building downtown towards the fire and sees the firefighters already on the scene trying to put out the hospital that's on fire. After a quick run through, Wally manages to get everyone out of the building, but then realizes that there's someone left inside. He runs up the side of the building, jumping through the window, calling out that whoever it is that he saw, he's here to help them. But it's that moment that he's kicked in the back, and the voice tells him, long time no see. Wally looks back to see Heatwave. I wish we could chat, but your old pal's got things to do, Flash. Wally begins to get back up, but suddenly the floor gives way and he catches himself on the level below. He looks up to try and get back to Heatwave, but as the ceiling begins to crumble, he books it out of there and can't find Heatwave. So as he turns to head back to work, he tries to think about, what was Heatwave even doing? Mick supposedly hung up that gear and decided to go straight. Something is wrong. Once Wally returns, he sees that his 3 co-workers are standing around a blackboard, all arguing over which of their calculations are wrong. Marcy says they have too much energy. Stevie says no, it's not too much energy, there's not enough connectivity. And Thomas asks if that's the case, why are the rods melting? Wally looks at the formula and tells them, it's the metal. It looks like you're using aluminum. As it stands now, the energy that you're putting through it is going to burn those rods out in a heartbeat. I suggest switching out the aluminum for copper, or even silver if you can get a hold of some. I did something similar with a treadmill and that did the trick. Marcy's confused. A treadmill? What did you say your name was again? Wally laughs. I'm Wally. I was hired on as an engineer. Marcy tells him great, then he can order them supplies while they all get some lunch. Did you know you get free lunch here? As the 3 of them leave, Wally sits at the computer and orders the copper that they need, but then finds himself bored with nothing else to do. After spinning in his chair for a bit, Wally's phone pings with the report of a fire at the pier, and he runs out of there as quick as he can. As he arrives, he sees Heatwave at the end. Hey, I knew you'd turn up, and now that you're here, it's time to turn up the heat! Heatwave begins to set fire to more of the nearby stands when the flames begin to race towards a child. Wally scoops up the kid, bringing him to safety, and returns. That was a kid, Mick! A kid! You gotta crack a few eggs to cook an omelet. Heatwave goes back to adding to the fire, and Wally jumps over the ledge, catching himself on the water, creating a giant water tornado that he sends crashing down on Heatwave and the fires. As the flames get extinguished, Wally looks at Heatwave. I can punch you 100 times a second, or you can give up. Heatwave begins to stand up. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. Wally's confused. What's going on? What are you doing, Heatwave? Everyone out there is having fun, not thinking about what's going on in the world, the pain, the hurt. They're blind. But any second, it could all be taken away. It could all be turned to ash. Wally tells him that he paid his dues. Why go back to a life of burning things down, of being a criminal? Heatwave begins to cry. Because it's the only way people will understand what's most important in life, Flash. There's a moment before it all catches fire where it all seems okay. And then a spark. And all you took for granted is gone. But it's a blessing too, baptism by fire. Really clarifies what's happening. That's what I'm giving them, clarity. Wally pauses for a moment. A hospital. You're sick, aren't you? Heatwave tells him. People have said that for years, but this time they just happen to be right. So why not just blow everything up? It doesn't even matter. I thought the asbestos in my suit was protecting me, but it turns out it's been killing me. Everything's just a series of events. What's one more if I burn one more thing down? You're wrong. Life isn't an accident. It has purpose and it has meaning. And what that is, well, that's up to you. Instead of putting so much effort into burning things down, maybe it's time to build things up. You've done it your way for so long, and this is where it brought you. Maybe it's time for a change. I don't know, Flash. And Wally extends his hand. I'll help you. Heatwave struggles for a moment, but then he lets go of the switch, and he shakes Wally's hand. As Heatwave's taken away, an officer says that she isn't sure why he was nice to the guy. He could have caused some real harm here. Wally tells her that part of the job isn't just saving people, but it's inspiring them. How else can they change the world? The officer tells him, shoot, I'm just trying to get to quit in time. And Wally panics, oh shoot, and he speeds off. Back at the lab, he puts the parts together that he ordered, and Stevie comes back stating that he's impressed. They weren't even gone that long. Thomas says that they were at the dining hall for a couple of hours. Anyway, how about you take off for the night? We can handle things from here, Wally. Wally says that he appreciates it. In fact, he's gonna pick up dinner for the family. Marcy asks what is he gonna grab, and Wally smiles. Barbecue. In the dead of night, across Central City, there's a man who stalks the shadows of people's homes, waiting for them to fall asleep. With him, a helmet. That once somebody fell asleep, he'd be able to extract the dark creatures that lie within their subconsciousness. He is Dr. Nightmare, and your nightmares are his army. But across town, Wally West is facing a different kind of nightmare, taking Ray to her first father-daughter dance at the school. As Linda finishes setting Wally's tie, she tells him not to worry. It's not that big of a deal. And Wally says that this isn't just a dance, it's their first dance. And then it'll be their second, and then she'll be dating, and she'll be married, and she'll never come home and see us. Jai tells him that he needs to relax. But then Ray tells him that she's ready and comes down the stairs. She asks how does she look, and while Wally stutters over his words, Linda tells her that she looks great. Now get together for a picture. After taking a dozen photos, Wally and Ray head off to school when the two notice a rather thick fog as they pass by Wally's work. Wally yawns, stating that he hopes that there's some coffee. He's starting to feel tired for some reason, and Ray tells him that it's just because he's old. But once they get to Ray's school, they find everyone inside knocked out and sleeping. After making sure everyone's alive, Wally says that they need to get back home and check on Mom and Jai. And as the two get ready to run, they just stand in place. Ray says that her powers aren't working. She can feel them, but she's just too tired to use them. Wally and Ray quickly get back into the car to head back home, but with everyone falling asleep, traffic is at a standstill. And Ray asks if she's dreaming because there's a man riding a giant purple elephant running through the streets. Ray gets out of the car with Wally shouting, "What are you doing?" And she says that he always told her that being a superhero isn't about powers, and he did want to teach her and Jai about superheroing. Isn't this what he'd call a learning experience? Wally groans, telling her to remind him not to be such a good dad. She can come, but if he tells her to run or hide, she has to listen. Meanwhile, inside of Terrific Tech, Dr. Nightmare laughs as he begins to open up the vaults, stating that there are some scary innovations in this location. He expected to find something better from the so-called smartest man. They all said bringing dreams to life was dangerous and foolish, and they were right. Dreams are easy, boring. Instead, this little device will aggravate the fear center of your brain. And with some molecular reconstruction fluid, I found something even better. Nightmares! As he begins to rip open the vaults, Wally and Iris sneak in, with Iris quickly running over to grab the helmet of one of the sleeping guards. When Dr. Nightmare notices, Ray sticks out her tongue and Wally grabs her by the hand, telling her to run. But Dr. Nightmare begins to throw out more of his nightmares, shouting, "No one will escape!" Wally manages to stay ahead just enough to duck into a closet, stating that, lucky for them, the creatures aren't that smart. Should be enough to let him call in the League But Ray tells him that there's no time. Maybe they can use the helmet to create something that can beat up the nightmares. Wally says that it's too dangerous, but Ray asks, isn't that a part of being a superhero? Didn't you say that your new motto was, West always save the day? Wally asks, when did she get so brave? And she tells him, by watching you, Dad. A few moments later, Dr. Nightmare is outside of the closet yelling, "There's no use in hiding! Come out now and I'll make your end painless!" Wally shouts that they'll be right out, and then he tosses out some of Ray's dream orbs, creating a rather adorable army with a giant donut panda and a two-headed rabbit. While the dreams take down the nightmares, Dr. Nightmare begins to escape, but Wally catches up punching him. "Sweet dreams, Doctor!" And with that, Dr. Nightmare is taken in by the police. Ray asks if this means that she gets to have her costume back. Maybe a superhero name? And Wally says that that means that they get to go back home. It's way past your bedtime. She asks him what about the dance, and Wally tells her, actually, our powers are returning, so... Within seconds, the two are dancing in Paris when Ray sees a shooting star. Wally tells her to make a wish, and she hugs her father, telling him that it already came true. But what they didn't realize was that that was no ordinary shooting star. It was a glaive, and it crash landed in the middle of Central City. A bit later, Wally West, Superman, and Mr. Terrific are all standing around the glaive that landed in Central City. Flash and Mr. Terrific watch as Superman has trouble moving it. The two tell him that it's magical in origin, but Superman keeps trying to grunt, telling them, all right, I'm gonna get it, don't worry. Wally laughs, patting Superman on the back. I can't wait to tell the others that there's something that even Superman can't move. As Superman snaps back, I will get it, Wally! A moment later, he stops. Sorry. For whatever reason, that really frustrated me. Mr. Terrific scans the glaive, stating that this thing is putting off some peculiar readings. I'll have to get back to the lab and analyze them. Wally jokes, telling him that he's supposed to be the smartest man around. And Mr. Terrific tells him that he is doubting that after hiring someone who is here instead of at their job. Flash begins to tell him, but I thought I could be... Flash is stunned as Mr. Terrific told him to be Flash whenever he needed to be. I thought you said that I could... And Mr. Terrific stops him. You should get back to work. And Superman flies off. I can't be stuck here taking care of another city. Wally scratches his head. Those two were kind of rude. I probably should get back to work. So he races back to Terrific Tech, where he finds Marcy, Thomas, and Steven all arguing over a project that they're working on. As Marcy charges at Stevie, Wally asks what the heck is going on, and Marcy yells that this bubblegum-chewing knucklehead says that the crystalline shield is a stupid waste of time and money. Stevie shouts, that's because what Cranky Pants doesn't understand is that it's theoretical. Temporal energy isn't going to be radioactive, and there's no reason to use it. But then everyone turns their attention to Wally, stating, wait, where have you been? We've all been here for hours working, and you just now show up? Just then, Wally's responder beeps, and he tells them that it's not, listen, we'll pick up on this later. Try not to kill each other while I'm gone, okay? Wally hurries back downtown where the responder told him that there was trouble. But as he gets there, he's shocked and he trips. Mr. Terrific looking down, telling him, I thought I told you to get back to work. But Wally asks him what's going on. Mr. Terrific attacks again, telling him, something that I should have done a long time ago, and that is stopping the great Wally West. You are too powerful at being to even exist. Maybe even more powerful than Superman. There is a 65% chance that you will destroy the world at some point, so come along quietly and recognize that your sacrifice will save countless lives. Wally jumps back to his feet. Sorry, but Linda might have a problem with that, Mr. Terrific. He charges at Mr. Terrific, but his T-spheres create a shield blocking him. And Mr. Terrific says, there's no way in. Just give up now. I have one more trick, though. And he begins to spin drilling into the ground under the lasers and out the other side, knocking Mr. Terrific out. Just then, Trickster, of all people, jumps at the glaive, telling him, I can feel the hate this thing is giving off. I can! Wally jumps in, punching him back. How the heck does Trickster move something that Superman can't? Just then, there's more shouting, and the whole rogues gallery of villains begin to pour in, all trying to take their shot and pulling up the glaive. While everyone begins to pull at the handle, Wally readies himself, stating, I haven't gone bowling in a while, and he crashes into everyone. One by one, Wally begins to stop each of the villains, and even after dealing with those, he looks back, noticing everyone on the streets is fighting and arguing. He then looks back at the glaive. This thing is giving off that energy. Maybe I can vibrate it loose. As he begins to try, though, the entire city begins to shake, and one of the people yells that this jerk is doing it. He has started the earthquake. So not only was Superman, Mr. Terrific, and all of the villains seemingly off, but also the people around the city who are just getting angry. Running out of options, Wally hurries back to Terrific Tech to grab some of Marcy's crystalline shielding and begins to lock in the glaive's energy, and suddenly everyone begins to regain themselves as it's blocked. The villains all yell that they are going to be back after they figure out why they were there in the first place. And as everything begins to return back to normal, Wally sees that the shielding is beginning to crack. Okay, that's probably not good. As quickly as the shield shatters, all of Central City falls back into a state of anger, with everyone yelling at one another for the smallest thing. Wally sits back up asking, wait, did I just make things worse? And then he notices that something else rocketed down from the sky towards the glaive. After crashing into the ground, a purple man appears. I felt its call from across the cosmos. Its delectable essence, reaching out like a beacon of hate, waiting to be consumed. I, Starbreaker, will do just that. Wally gets up, seeing the alien being now here to also join the fight. Come on! If he eats that thing, he's probably gonna get really powerful, right? Starbreaker turns back to him. Yes. Wally turns back to Starbreaker. All right, well, I guess I gotta stop you. He rushes in, hitting Starbreaker to the ground, with Starbreaker laughing. Fool, I am an energy vampire. Those kinetic attacks, along with the hate wafting through the air, it's making me stronger. You should have known better. Wally smiles. Honestly, after a while, all you bad guys start to blend together. He rushes back in again, but Starbreaker grabs him by the throat, tossing him. Bear witness to the end of the world, as he pulls out the glaive. As Starbreaker is pulling at the handle, the energy begins to flow around him until suddenly the blade breaks free. Ha! It is mine! And with it, the whole universe is... No, wait, release me, I beg of you! The glaive begins to release a black energy swallowing Starbreaker, and as the energy fades, he stands there infected, staring at Wally. He tosses the glaive as a strange voice comes out of him. I am finally free. They thought they could contain me, but now I will have my revenge. The whole cosmos will bow before the might of Eclipso. Wally gets up, clapping. Yeah, okay. It all makes sense now. The anger, the vengeance. You use that thing like bait on a hook, hoping to reel in someone stupid enough and powerful enough for you to take over. Eclipso tells him, I didn't need someone powerful, I just needed someone who thirsts for power. The Kryptonian, though, infected with my anger, wouldn't let me in, so I called on others. The question remains, how did you ignore the call? Yeah, I just don't go for the anger thing. If you wanted someone, you should have landed in Gotham. Anyway, ready to get your butt handed to you? Eclipso radiates the power. No. You are beneath me now, and time is of the essence. Look to the heavens, for when I return, I will come with vengeance. As he begins to fly away, Wally watches. I'm gonna take that as a win. And at that moment, a green Ankh appears, and Wally asks, is that you, Dr. Fate? A hand reaches out of the portal and pulls Wally in, and on the other side, Dr. Fate tells him, Flash, the fate of the universe rests in your hands. Wally asks, my hands? Well, I gotta say, those aren't my best features. And Dr. Fate sighs. With everything going on in the world, Wally begins to ask what exactly is going on here. Where did Dr. Fate even bring him? Why are they in a dark cave? Dr. Fate explains that they are currently in a two-dimensional causeway. They must act quickly before Eclipso can make his move. However, this journey is dangerous. Even now, the foul beasts and demonic apparitions native to this dimension are moving into strike, which is why we need you to guide us through this. Wally is kind of stunned by the way that Dr. Fate said that and emphasized you. He looks at him. What? Me? How am I supposed to? But Dr. Fate stops him and says, no, not you. You, the reader of this book. Wally stops, asking him, what the heck are you talking about? Is your helmet too tight or something? And then Dr. Fate removes the veil from Wally's mind, and he realizes they're in a comic book. He stares back at you, the reader, asking, who is this? This doesn't even make sense. How are they watching us? And Dr. Fate tells him, I don't have time to explain. The demons of this realm have found us. As hundreds of little creatures swarm out, Wally asks, can't they just use magic missiles or something like that? And Dr. Fate tells him that the magic in the second dimension is much more limited than the third. They don't have access to the Dr. Fate powers here. Wally pushes off some of the creatures, asking, what are they supposed to do then? And Dr. Fate tells him, the reader can help. You! Turn the comic counterclockwise, now! Suddenly, as you shift the comic book, the world shifts 45 degrees, and Wally and Dr. Fate fall several panels ahead to a door that they must enter. While climbing through this rotated dimension, the two manage to escape the monsters, and they swing open the door just in time for Dr. Fate to refer to us, the reader, again. Can you please return the book to its correct orientation? As the two step into the door, they find a long hallway of guards. And the second that they walk in, every head in the room snaps to them. Wally turns to Dr. Fate. Any ideas? And as the guards all start to charge in, Dr. Fate turns back. You! Blow on the page! Snuff out the torches! So, dear viewers, since the readers were supposed to snuff out the torches, blow on your screen right now. Seconds later, the room goes dark thanks to you doing that. And then there are the sounds of metal clanging together. After a few moments, Dr. Fate creates a light to see, and Wally laughs looking back, telling him that the dumb killer automation guards can't even see in the dark. But soon the two of them find themselves at an impasse as a giant hole separates them from the next door that they must enter. And Wally looks back. Hey, reader? How about you give us a little clockwise tilt, cool? No sooner than he asks, and you tilt the comic. Then the world quickly tilts, tossing him and Dr. Fate into the chasm and through the door. They both land in a giant underground lake where the magical book is floating in the air. Wally asks, "What is that?" Dr. Fate tells him, "It is our way out. All we need to do is get..." But before he could finish, something grabs Dr. Fate by the leg, dragging him underwater. Wally shouts to the reader again, "You guys, you gotta turn the book completely upside down." The world again shifts as you turn the book upside down, but this time, it's pouring water out of the lake as it's upside down. As the giant sea monster is revealed, Wally leaps in, swinging the glaive, cutting the tentacles, holding Dr. Fate hostage. After peeling the tendrils off of him, Dr. Fate yells out again, "Turn the book to the right!" So as you turn the book, the world turns, and he grabs the mystical book on his way to the other side. As he looks through the pages, he finds the glyphs that are needed to open up the portal, ones that were seen through their travels. Reader, you must go back and find the glyphs. Touch the glyphs in the order that you've seen them. Red, blue, and yellow. As we go back through the comic book ourselves, touching the glyphs on the pages, the monster attacks again, causing Dr. Fate to drop the book. But he yells out again, "Reader, touch them in the correct order!" So after touching the red circle, the blue triangle, and then finally the yellow triangle, the book shines, pulling Wally and Dr. Fate into the portal. A few seconds later, they fall out into the bright pastel world, with Dr. Fate stating, "We've made it. We've made it to Gemworld." And Amethyst tells him, "Maybe, but you're too late. Eclipso has won." Quickly, Wally and Dr. Fate get to their feet as a massive creature attacks them. That's when Wally realizes that Justice League Dark are also here in Gemworld with him. They all begin a massive retreat, with Amethyst stating that the crystal worms are usually peaceful. But Bobo tells her, obviously not when old Eclipso's at the wheel, who, by the way, hasn't even made so much as an appearance yet. She then says that he must have made it to the Black Heart then. The only person who knows where it is locked away under the House of Diamond. It's an impenetrable fortress, undoubtedly guarded by, but Wally stops. Under the House of Diamond? Which way? Amethyst points south, asking what is he planning. And Wally says that he's going to use one of his superpowers that he doesn't get to use often. Being annoying! Using his super speed, he begins to stab and poke the crystal worm all over its body until it roars in a fit of rage, trying to stop him. Now with an angry mega creature following him, Wally runs towards the House of Diamond and begins to burrow himself underground. Once getting himself into position, he waits for the right moment as the crystal worm lunges for him. He shoots back up, letting the creature slam headfirst into the nearly indestructible walls of the House of Diamond. As everyone enters, Bobo says that he is a world-renowned detective. But it doesn't take much to see that this guy is obviously like super evil, right? Amethyst tells everyone that this man's name is Dark Opal. He tried to take over Gemworld once or twice, and Dark Opal says, "I also made a fair attempt at trying to kill you. Don't forget that." She grabs her sword, but Dark Opal says that they can torture him all they'd like, but it won't grant them the information that they seek. He can lead them to Eclipso. All it will cost is his freedom. Etrigan looks at him. "I've seen devils with smiles such as that. His words say he'll help, but in his heart lies a trap." Constantine chimes in, "True. But we don't have much of a choice now, do we?" Zatanna agrees that John is right. Wally walks up. "Well then, great. Sounds like we all have plans all set to go. So, magic people, who's gonna bibbity-bobbity-boo us back to Earth?" Dr. Fate says that he's sorry, but I can't let you go just yet. You are the only one who does not get swayed by Eclipso's influence. It would serve us all well to have someone immune to his reach, Wally. Constantine looks back. "What, this bloke? Immune to Eclipso?" Wally gives a half-hearted thumbs up. "Yeah, me. Magic adventure where I'm immune." After a bit of traveling, the unlikely group finds a giant chasm in the ground, and Dark Opal tells them that this is it, the Black Heart. Emesis says that she thought it was just a fairy tale, but Dark Opal says of course she did. This hole leads to the very center of Gemworld. He himself attempted to reach it and unlock the secrets of this planet, but it is guarded by the forces that not even he can break. Zatanna asks why would Eclipso need to get to the center of the planet? And while everyone tries to think of something, Wally says, "Actually, I might know." Constantine chimes over. "Really? Anyone hear that? Flash knows what Eclipso is up to, even though we, the most powerful magic users on Earth and other realms, have exhausted all means at our disposal to find out. Please enlighten us, Speedster One." Wally says, "Well, when Jai was younger, his Uncle Barry gave him a build-your-own antenna kit. The central piece of it was a hunk of quartz. It worked pretty good, too." Zatanna pauses. "Wait, Actually, this makes sense, Constantine. It's right in the name. Gemworld. This entire planet is some form of crystalline gem. Dr. Fate begins to speak, saying that if what Dark Opal said is true, Eclipso is trying to unweave the magic that guards the heart. If he is successful, all is lost. Gather, heroes. We must descend into the heart and wage war with the most dangerous of foes. Flash, stay here with the glaive and then... But as Dr. Fate trails off, Wally stops him. Hey, are you okay? Frog got your throat? And then he looks back to see that everyone save for Dark Opal is now under Eclipso's control. Within a matter of seconds, everyone attacks Wally as Eclipso taunts him, telling him, "You have no hope. No chance of defeating the great Eclipso." Wally throws Bobo off of him, telling him, "I'm the Flash, and I'm all about hope." Zatanna begins to cast her magic, but Wally grabs a hold of Ragman. Nope, and he wraps the cloak around her face. While taking out the others, Wally then stops before Amethyst as Eclipso tells him that these are just puppets. You'll have to kill them if you want to. Suddenly there's a loud thwack, and Amethyst's body falls to the ground as Dark Opal holds up a giant rock. Gladly! Wally takes the rock from him. No killing! And Dark Opal tells him, fine. But if we're going to survive, we're going to need to get away from here before they wake. And Wally asks, do you have a place in mind? Dark Opal tells him that the glaive that he is wielding once held Eclipso, right? But since it's lost its magic, Eclipso is free. So they need to recharge the glaive and trap him again. Wally hands over the glaive asking if he can really do it. And Dark Opal tells him, I'm a sorcerer of considerable power. Given enough time, I can do anything. So Dark Opal begins his preparations, with Wally telling him that he doesn't get it. Why are you helping us? Isn't it obvious? For my freedom. Isn't that right? Eclipso. Suddenly, a beam is fired out of the portal, knocking Wally down, and out of it, all of the Justice League Dark come rushing out. With that, Wally was captured and trapped within a crystal. Some time passes with the Justice League Dark having won, and Etrigan is punching Wally over and over, with Wally telling him, for a possessed demon who is possessing another demon, you sure hit like a baby, Eclipso. Through Amethyst, Eclipso tells him, that is enough. Everything on this planet is under my control, except you. Why? What makes you so special, Flash? And Wally smiles. Because you didn't say please. Eclipso slaps Wally. I will show you why I am the only true spirit of vengeance. You will finally feel the wrath I've endowed him with. Wally coughs up. Someone will stop you. Who? You, the Justice League? Even if they knew what was happening, they could do nothing. I am currently unraveling the last of the magic guarding the heart. This world's crystalline bones will shout into the inky black of space, and I will have my revenge. And nothing will stop me, Flash. Eclipso takes the glaive, getting ready to end Wally. When suddenly, there's a giant explosion. As the smoke clears, Wally looks down to see Jai, I-Ray, and another girl, and he asks, kids? I-Ray looks at her father. Hi, Dad. Etrigan rushes in, but Jai punches him through the roof, with I-Ray blowing Bobo away with her cyclone. Jai then turns back, punching the crystal, holding Wally to free him, and asks if he's okay. Wally says, besides having a million questions as to how you're all here, yeah, I'm fine, I really am. At that moment, the little girl with them asks what they want to do about this guy. And Wally looks up to see a projection of a giant bear holding Dark Opal. Yeah, like, what the heck is going on, kids? The little girl says that she can explain, Mr. West. She convinced I-Ray to sneak out of the house, but then they were abducted by super bad guys. Jai chased after them, and I-Ray reconnected his powers, and they all got buffed. They beat up the bad guys and zap. They came here because Jai sensed that you were in trouble. Okay, all right, now, that all makes sense, but who are you? The girl explains her name is Maxine Baker, but you can call me Animal Girl. But while Maxine goes on, Jai groans in pain, and Wally tells him he got his powers back, so I'm assuming the pain came back to you as well. Jai says that they can disconnect him when they get home, but he knew he was in trouble, and so Dark Opal then speaks. No, you're all in trouble. I thought by capturing you, it would weaken you, but now... Wait, you do realize that with Eclipso succeeding, you're gonna be mind-controlled like the rest of the universe, right? Yes, but I wasn't lying about recharging the glaive. Wally stares for a moment, contemplating Dark Opal's honesty. But with no other choice but to believe him, he hands the glaive back to Dark Opal, telling him, get to it. Later, back in the front of the Black Heart, Dark Opal hands the glaive back to Wally, telling him that it took almost everything he had, but the glaive is recharged. They only have one shot at this. Alright, I can do it. I just need a clear shot at Eclipso. Jai cracks his knuckles. Don't worry, Dad. We got this. As soon as the pain returns, Wally tells him he can't let him fight. But Ira tells him that they can't do it without Jai. And Jai sits back up. Yeah, she's right. Don't worry. I can do this, Dad. Wally sighs, telling them that Linda is going to kill him when she finds out that he went on a Flash adventure with his kids. That's a problem for another day. Speaking of killing, don't! These people are possessed. They don't have any idea what they're doing. Suddenly, a giant beam shoots out of the Black Heart, and Dark Opal says that Eclipso has reached a heart. It's happening! Wally turns back to everyone, kneeling down, telling them to make sure that they look out for each other and don't take risks. He'll give them a 10-second head start to clear the path. Then he's going to start running. If he can build up enough speed, Eclipso will never see them coming. On your mark, get set, go! As the kids and Dark Opal charge into the fray, Wally patiently waits as he begins to count to 10. As the fighting begins, he forces himself not to join, watching as the kids prove themselves to be possible actual heroes. As he counts down to 10, he sees the path, and he begins to run. The Flash runs. He enters the Black Heart, and Wally can feel himself slowing down. But then he decides to tap into the Speed Force to surge it through himself, breaking through the slowdown. He feels a sudden rush of energy, continuing to run down into the pit, only briefly stopping when he finds Eclipso getting ready to fully integrate and take control of the universe. Wally holds up the glaive, and he throws it, stabbing it directly into Eclipso's head, severing his connection to the Black Heart. He's then forced back into his prison, his influence on everyone beginning to fade, and Wally laughs. Haha! I hope it's cramped in there. And then a voice tells him that he is. Wally looks up asking if that's the Spectre? Spectre takes the glaive, and Wally tells him that he can have it. It's been nothing but trouble since it landed in the city. Spectre tells him that the angel who was to guard the weapon was attacked by the disciples of Eclipso. The angel then hurled it into the cosmos before they could get their hands on it. And it would seem that Providence guided it to him. He is pleased with you, Wally West. Wally asks, wait, pleased? Wait, he? As in, and Wally points up. Yes, him. Well, not to sound like a jerk, but we could have used some help. Why do you think Eclipso could not affect you, Wally? In any case, I must go. Return to your family. But Wally tells him, wait, can I ask you a favor? It's my son, Jai. The Speed Force is split between him and Ira, and he's in pain because of it. Is there a way to... I will remind you that you have an extra bit of energy that you could give to your son, if you choose. Wait, the Surge? Did he plan that too? It's all a part of his plan. Now go. Your family awaits. Later back outside, Dr. Fate says that it would appear that he was successful. Wally says that he has nothing else that he needs to do. He looks over at Jai and he tells him that he proved himself to be a real hero even without his powers. And now, since the Speed Force gave this to him, he will pass it on. He passes the Surge on to Jai, who sits back up telling him that the pain is gone. Yeah, that's the Surge. Hey, it's not a bad hero name either. We need to get you back before your mother ends up being worried sick. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Linda sits up in her bed trying to finish a bit of writing before going back to sleep. But after getting a bit stumped on her ending, she decides to get a snack and check on the kids, who both happen to not be in bed. She calls out to them as she checks around the house, but as she goes outside, she realizes that she ran out of the house with the speed of a speedster. She looks at herself, realizing what she just did. Oh, this isn't good. No, this isn't good at all. The commander of the fraction stares into the void. One of the bridge crew members looks at him. We've reached the desired tributary. Egress initiated. The crewman says, and the commander nods. Begin descent. The fraction has arrived on Earth. Friends and family have gathered together for some much-needed downtime at the home of Wally West. Everyone is enjoying the barbecue when they look up into the sky, shocked, as the massive ship descends upon Central City. Over in the desert, Max Mercury looks up at the setting sun, a smile on his face. Well, old fella, it's time to see where the wind takes you, he says to himself before speeding off into a run. But before he can break through the Speed Force, he stops himself to see the massive ship. In the city, Jesse Quick is fighting off a monster alongside Our Man. The monster is defeated, and the citizens are now looking up into the sky with fear. Kid Flash and Impulse, meanwhile, are stopping a robbery, arguing over who will get credit for the bust, but they stop as they see the ship descending upon the city. At a dinner date, Barry Allen is suddenly caught off guard, asking Iris to repeat herself. "Don't play flustered scientist with me, Barry. You heard me. I want to know where this is going, our relationship," she tells him, and Iris explains that she wants a family someday, and slides a ring box across the table. "So, Barry, what do you say? Want to spend the rest of your life with me?" she asks, but before Barry can answer, everything seems to freeze. Iris isn't moving, and the drinks have stopped pouring, and a fly is suspended in midair. Barry looks out the window just as a massive ship makes an impact into the city, a wave of destruction crashing over the seemingly frozen city. Barry moves fast, grabbing a hold of Iris as the destruction is reaching them. Across the city, the rest of the Flash family continues at super speed, everyone else frozen in time. Aboard the Fraction ship, the commander turns to his crew. "Deploy the wall," he orders. Massive metal arms falling from the ship, crushing more of the city that isn't already in ruins. The blades connect, creating a massive wall around the towering vessel. The commander nods in satisfaction. "Begin the culling," he orders. Back over at the restaurant, Barry pulls himself out of the rubble. "Iris!" he screams as he begins to dig through that destruction, and it doesn't take long, but he manages to pull her free. He cradles her broken body before he lets out a scream. "No!" Back over at Wally's home, he struggles to his feet, Linda nearby. "I'm okay," he tells her, looking at the debris and destruction that is reaching them. "What just happened?" he asks as he looks around at their friends and family who are frozen in time. "Something hit like a meteor, but Wally, before it hit, it felt like someone switched my powers on, and I can't seem to turn them off," Linda tells him. Wally looks to what his son seems to have done to save them. "I think he must have used the tree as a shield before the wave hit. He saved our lives," Wally tells his daughter. At the spire, the walls have begun to open up to allow tanks to move out into the destruction of the city. Kid Flash and Impulse stand nearby. "That's a big wall, a very big wall," Impulse notes, and he looks to Kid Flash. "We should go find out what's on the other side." But Kid Flash shakes his head and points out that they should find out why they can't slow down, why they're moving at top speed all the time. "Besides, I've already started running into it, and whatever it's made of, it seems to be frictionless," Wally says, and Impulse tries to vibrate through the wall but merely slams into it. Suddenly the wall begins to open and the two teens are shocked, so they begin to run, and in a blur of motion, they're suddenly behind a nearby wall. "Get down!" Jay Garrick hisses at them. The trio watch as tanks begin to rumble out over the massive spire. "It's like some kind of invasion," Kid Flash whispers, and Jay shakes his head. "No, boys, this is a war." Meanwhile, Wally is running through the destroyed city in his uniform, but he stops as he hears Barry crying. He runs into the room to find his mentor, cradling Iris. Barry looks up, tears in his eyes. She was there. And then, "Wally, oh, Wally!" He gasps, and Wally hugs Barry and Iris. But he looks up as he sees the alien craft flying overhead, ruining their mourning period. "Barry, let's get her back to the house. It's not safe here. We're going to figure this out, okay?" Wally tells Barry, who struggles to his feet, lifting Iris's body up into his arms. But another craft buzzes over them and opens fire. The pair of flashes split up, forcing the craft to follow Wally, rounds spitting out of the front of the ship, blasting the ground at Wally's feet. But Wally manages to grab a piece of rebar, whirling around at the craft. "Lay down your arms and prepare for capture," the pilot calls over a loudspeaker, and Wally smiles. "Ha! First time on Earth, huh, pal?" he says before throwing the rebar so hard that it spins, ripping off one of the ship's wings. It then begins to careen through the air, exploding against a wall. "Enjoy your visit," Wally snaps. Meanwhile, Kid Flash, Impulse, and Jay have all been discovered, with Jay throwing the kids onto the ground as the blast rips through the wall that they were hiding behind. "Oh, I should have stayed in the future," Impulse moans as he gets back to his feet, and the alien soldiers come towards them. But Jay stands ready. "Roll on your shoulders, boys. If we're gonna die today, we'll die like men, tall and proud." Impulse looks at him. "Is there a second option?" But a tank suddenly flips through the air, landing on the soldiers. Jay looks up at their savior, smiling. Why, Miss Quick, aren't you a sight for sore eyes? He says as Jess steps out. Jess explains that our man's Miracle managed to save him and she hid him away before she came to help. Jay asks if she has any idea who the aliens are. I think they're called the Fraction. Max and I saw a spider that looked just like the one that landed here when we were searching for Barry. We also saw the way they left the world. And Jay, it wasn't good. Aboard the Spire, the commander was receiving reports of the metagened humans that are being captured and brought to the ship. One of the officers steps forward. Sir, we found evidence of organic conduits. Actually, a lot of organic conduits. The officer says, and the commander is intrigued. How many? This area alone, our estimates are 5 or more, the officer reports, and the commander orders his men to capture these conduits and bring them to the ship. Awaken the hunter, he orders before turning away. 5. The Empress will be most impressed, he whispers to himself. Outside of the city, one of the Fraction scouts are reporting that something is chasing him. He looks back in fear, but suddenly finds Max Mercury running alongside him. Max grabs the scout, ripping him off his bike, demanding to know what is going on. The Fraction is forever! The scout snaps before hitting a button that electrocutes him to death. So, not much for conversation, Max observes before turning and running back towards the city in the distance. He arrives quickly at Wally's home, where the rest of the Flash family and survivors have gathered. Everyone quickly greets each other and they share stories about what happened to them. But everyone quickly becomes quiet as Barry and Wally return with the body of Iris. As Barry carries her inside, Jay steps forward. Let me take care of her. You've carried her for too long, he offers, but Barry shakes his head. Not long enough. He says quietly, going into the house. Meanwhile, aboard the Spire, the hunter has been released from her prison. She steps out, her hunting hounds pulling at their chains. Come, Miss Murder. The Fraction needs you. Her keeper shouts. At Wally's house, Barry sits by the bedside, still holding Iris's hand. Wally puts his hand onto Barry's shoulder. Barry, we have to go. I know it feels like it's been days, but Jay wants to talk to us. Barry doesn't move for a few moments, finally leaning forward and kissing Iris on the forehead. I love you forever, Iris, he whispers. The pair head into the kitchen for Jay's war council. He explains to them that they have been doing recon and figured out that the ship destroyed a huge portion of Central City and Keystone on impact. Since then, the aliens have been moving aircrafts, tanks, and soldiers into the city. Everyone questions why they're moving at super speed and how come the Flash family can't seem to shut off their powers. But it's Wally who believes that the Fraction must be tapping into the Speed Force with their technology. We're gonna need one of those vehicles. If I can get a look at their tech, maybe we can reverse engineer a solution, Barry says. It's Linda who steps forward, reminding everyone that they need a secure base for the kids and those who are frozen in time. So Wally nods. I know just the place. While everyone is putting their plans into motion, Impulse dashes off. Kid Flash managing to catch up to him, questioning where he's going. Don't worry about it. If Barry needs a car, I'll get him a car. Kid Flash shakes his head and rushes after him. Aboard the Spire, the commander isn't happy that his elite soldiers can't seem to find the conduits. Where's Miss Murder? The commander demands. She's hunting in the eastern part of the city. She has yet to fail us, one of the soldiers reports. The commander nods and orders the culling to continue. And as the darkness falls, Kid Flash and Impulse are hiding in the ruins, watching as a Fraction tank hovers by. All right, what's the plan? Impulse smiles at him. You do understand why they call me Impulse, right? He zips forward, hiding in the tank. Kid Flash sighs, following after the boy. Unknown to them, Miss Murder is close by, her hounds having already picked up the teen's scent. Meanwhile, Wally has led the rest of the family to the Mr. Terrific lab, where he believes that they will be safe, as they begin to move everyone inside. And Max looks around. Hey, where's Bart? He asks, and Linda notices that Wallace isn't there either. Oh, Argle Bargle. The tank that the two boys are hiding in has returned to the Spire, so the boys sneak out and discover that they're inside of the Fraction ship. They begin to sneak through the tunnels until they find a strange glowing conduit. Maybe it's a battery. We should take it, Impulse says. Kid Flash looks at him in shock as Impulse begins to unplug the conduit, though this leads to alarms beginning to sound on the command deck. Cutting back to the kids, they're now trying to carry the large conduit out of the ship. They round the corner into a pair of soldiers who order them to stop. See? I told you this wouldn't work, Kid Flash shouts, and Impulse merely smiles. Ye have little faith. We just have to use this as a shield and ram them. He shouts as the pair rush forward, knocking the soldiers onto their backs. But they look up to realize that they've now broken the conduit. Great! You broke it! Now they know we're here. Can we get going already? Impulse sighs, looking down. Hey, yeah, sure, but is there someone in the cylinder? They manage to open up the conduit and discover a young boy inside. Okay, this place is getting weirder and weirder, Impulse says as they help the boy out of the battery. But they both look up to see Miss Murder and her hounds at the end of the hall. Who's that? The young battery boy begins to become awake and he looks up in horror. Her name is Miss Murder! Run! He gasps, and they turn to run but find that the hounds have circled around them. The young boy tells them that Miss Murder hunts by reading their thoughts. Thoughts? That's perfect! All we have to do is not think! Easy, follow me! Impulse shouts, and the trio begins to run, with Impulse leading them by acting on impulse. They manage to slip around the hunter, and they round another corner to find the commander and the soldiers. Kill them! The commander shouts, with the soldiers opening fire, but the young boys suddenly juke to the side, allowing the blaster fire to hit the pursuing hounds. The trio then return to the hangar, where they steal another tank, but Miss Murder suddenly lands on the roof, causing them all to scream in fear. Impulse reaches out for the controls, and the tank comes to life, reacting to his speed force. As the tank careens through the hangar and out the exit, Miss Murder is suddenly knocked free, with the commander arriving in time to shout for his soldiers to pursue the tank. It's a little bit later that Impulse brings the tank to a screeching halt outside of the house, in front of Wally and Max. One vehicle as requested, Impulse says with a smile. While the adults aren't happy with the risk the boys took, they are proud of them for saving the conduit and bringing them the vehicle. Wally walks around the back, opening up the tank's doors. Any idea what's in here? But they all stop and stare in shock, because inside of the back of the tank is a collection of frozen superhumans. Wally just looks at Superman. Okay, I was not expecting that. A little bit of time passes after Wally discovered Superman was one of the metahumans being used as a battery, and the group of frozen metahumans are now moved inside of the Flash family household. Wally and Barry stand before the frozen Superman, who's actually trying to move very slowly. Superman is trying to say. Impulse looks at the Man of Steel. Is this gonna take all day? He asks, and Barry nods. I'm sure with enough time, Superman might be able to catch up, but right now it must look all like a blur to him. The trio return to the others, where the young conduit explains that he was a corrections officer that was jumping through dimensions when he was captured by the Fraction and turned into a living battery to power their ship. He explains that the Fraction's technology allows them to tap into the Speed Force, and it is in everything from their armor to their vehicles. But I've noticed that we're still going a little faster than them, Jay points out. The others nod, and Barry believes that the Spire must act as an antenna to allow them to channel the Speed Force through their tech. Wally nods, looking around. If we can get that wall open, I can get to the Spire before they do something about it, he says, and everyone breaks up to prepare for the plan. With Wally leading Barry, Kid Flash, and Impulse into the garage, he shows them his old muscle car. Okay, run that past me again, Barry says to Wally, and Wally tells him that if they put one of the Fraction engines into this car, he might be able to drive it into the Spire. If these things work the way you're thinking, an organic conduit should be able to speed it up so that it becomes a moving bomb, Wally says, and Barry nods, believing that the engine could create a friction barrier that could protect Wally from the bomb. After a bit more discussion of the plan and the possible pitfalls, Barry looks at the two young speedsters. All right, boys, let's get to work. We have a montage of preparation, and when it's all done, Jay asks if they're ready. Ray comes in wearing her costume, wondering when she gets to join the fight, but Wally tells his daughter that she has to stay behind and protect the frozen heroes. She starts to argue, but Jessie Quick steps up to the young girl. What would happen if somebody broke in and stole the greatest hero on Earth? She asks as she motions to Superman. We need to protect Superman, Our Man, and all of the rest. I don't know if it's any bigger than that. She fist bumps Ray. Flash girls forever, they both say with a smile. Jay reminds them all that if something goes wrong, they can all cut their losses and return to the base. But Barry shakes his head. No, we're gonna finish this today, no matter what, he says harshly. He walks into the next room with Wally following him, and Barry admits to Wally that Iris asked him to marry her at the last moment. But he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a ring, revealing that he was going to ask her himself. Wally pulls Barry into a hug. Barry, we're gonna make them pay, you hear me? You and me. We're gonna make sure these people never do this again. He promises. So a short time later, the battle for our future has begun. The speedsters are attacking the wall, drawing the Fraction's attention, and Barry wields one of the Fraction's cannons, shooting at their aircraft and getting their attention. Showtime, Wally, he says over the radio, and Wally nods, revving the muscle car's new Speed Force engine. He begins to roar towards the city at super speed. The rest of the speedsters are trying to keep the wall open for Wally, but Jay is suddenly blasted from behind. The commander lifts Jay up, an energy weapon piercing the old speedster's back. You thought you had a chance, didn't you? Hiding in some hole making plans? Well, we found out, and Miss Murder is infiltrating your headquarters. Soon you'll be in my care, all for the glory of the Fraction. The commander gloats. Meanwhile, back at Mr. Terrific's base, Ira is trying to keep herself entertained, but she hears a strange noise coming out of the darkness. Hello? She calls out as she gets up to investigate, and a low growling emits from the shadows. Back with Jay, the commander leans over his shoulder. What was your plan? Open the section of the wall for what? A frontal assault? Jay looks up and smiles. Now that would just be stupid, he gasps. Elsewhere, Jess and Linda have held open a second portion of the wall, allowing Wally to blaze through with his Speed Force car. But the commander calls back to the command desk, ordering them to use the emitter on Wally's car and overpower him. A blast of Speed Force energy fires out of the top of the spire, hitting Wally in his car. He's suddenly held still and can feel his body disintegrating. I can't phase! I'm not like this! He gasps before disappearing. The commander laughs as he drops Jay to the ground. That's the problem with heroes. You put your heart into everything, thinking that if you just try hard enough, it's going to be okay. Back with Ira, she stands her ground, guarding the frozen heroes. I don't know who you are, but you can't have them, she shouts at Miss Murder. But the hunter rushes forward, grabbing Ira by the throat, lifting her into the air. The two hounds begin to sniff around Superman, who is still moving at a mere fraction of a second. As Miss Murder holds Ira up close, Superman manages to push through, and he grabs one of the hounds' tails. This distracts Miss Murder for a moment, and Ira is able to kick her way free. She rushes over to her brother Jai, throwing him at Miss Murder. My brother turned Speed Force into strength, and Uncle Barry said that there's a ton of Speed Force spilling out everywhere, so Jai's probably super strong, which is great because we've been practicing a couple of moves. I call this one a wrecking ball, she shouts, and Jai slams into Miss Murder and her hounds, which forces the hunter to leave. I'll be back, young one, she says in Ira's mind. I can't wait! The young speedster shouts, turning back to Superman, who has managed to look at her. Thanks for the assist. I guess you're still pretty great, she tells the Man of Steel. Now it's time to save the day, she says to herself. Back over at the Spire, the Flash family has now all been captured, but the ground begins to rumble around them, and the commander looks up in shock. Is that thunder? He wonders, and Jay smiles as he turns his head. No. That's my granddaughter. Ira is rushing forward, using her Speed Force powers to carry the super strong frozen Jai behind her. It's like your comic said, Jai. No one can determine my destiny but me. I am a hero, and there's nothing in this world that could stand in my way, she shouts, using her powers to fling Jai around the clearing, knocking the Fraction forces away with her brother's body. She screeches to a stop before everyone. I figured out my superhero name. Call me Thunderheart. Come on. Let's go wham on some bad guys, she says to the other. Cool! Kid Flash and Impulse shout together as Max knocks one of the soldiers away and orders the kids to follow him. Elsewhere, Jess and Linda are shoved onto the Fraction's tanks, but after the doors close, the driver turns back to them, pulling off his helmet to reveal the young conduit. Just sit back and relax, I'll take it from here, he tells the ladies with a smile. The rest of the Flash family continue to fight their way to Barry, as Barry begins to take a moment to tell Ira what happened. She then notices that the Fractions are dragging Jay back inside of the wall. Poppy! She shouts in anger, rushing forward, but the wall begins to close. Iray tries to throw Jai at them, but he bounces off the closed wall, and the rest of the speedsters turn as the tank rumbles towards them. But it comes to a stop, and the doors slide open to reveal Jess and the others. "Get in before they come back with reinforcements," Jess shouts. So Linda gets in, rushing to Iray, who's pounding on the wall. "Let me in! I'm gonna tear it down, I swear!" she shouts, tears spilling out of her eyes. Linda rushes forward, pulling her daughter into a hug, as they both cry. And finally, Linda looks up to see Jai still bouncing into the wall. Is that your brother?" she whispers in surprise. Later, inside of the spire, the commander hits Jay again, forcing the old speedster to sag in his bonds. "Tell me where your headquarters is, and the pain will stop," the commander tells him, but Jay smiles. "Pain? Pal, this is nothing compared to the last time I was captured. They hit me so hard my molars came out. You're a lightweight." The commander smacks him again, but is quickly informed that Miss Murder has returned and knows the secret base of the speedsters. With that, the commander leaves the room getting ready. But back at their base, everyone begins to mourn the death of Wally West, when Barry suddenly has an idea. He speeds past everyone, beginning to scribble on the whiteboard. Together we can fix this," he whispers to himself. Jess runs into the room to inform everyone that the fraction is approaching. But Barry turns to them all. "I know how to win this war. Not just win, but make it so that this never happened in the first place." At the spire, the doctor leans over Jay, preparing to begin his experiments. Jay smiles, opening his mouth. "Maybe you can start at my teeth. I think your boss might have loosened something." He then spits one of his teeth out at super speed, breaking through the doctor's armor. The laser drill falls onto the table, breaking Jay's bonds, allowing him to free himself. He gets to his feet, managing to knock out the soldiers that are rushing him. He then stands, catching his breath as he arms himself with the Fraction's weapons, hefting one of the rifles. "All right, it's time for the Fraction to see what Jay Garrick can do," he grunts as he prepares for war. The final plan has begun. Jessie realizes that the world doesn't need Jess Quick right now. It needs the Ring of Liberty Bell. She puts on her mother's old costume and joins the rest of the Flash family. "I'm ready," she tells them, and Max nods. "Your mother would be proud, Jessie." Barry looks at the rest of the family, reminding them of what is at stake. 2 miles before we make things right. All we have to do is stick together. It's time to end this once and for all, he says as they all look at the spire in the distance. Inside the Fraction Fortress, Admiral Thau is brought into the view screen. His generals point out that the Flash family is gathering. "Ready the forces, but hold. We'll let them make the first move," he orders, pondering what the family could possibly be planning. It was earlier that Barry gathered everyone together, jotting down his plan of attack. He explains that the spire acts as a giant antenna that channels the Speed Force to all of the Fraction forces who are armed with artificial conduits. That if the entire family taps into the Speed Force and channels it back to the antenna, it should overload all of the artificial conduits and send them all back in time, before all of this even happened. But back in the current day, the Flash family takes off on their run, lightning cracking behind them as they rush towards the spiral. Gathering together, they've created a Speed Force shield that allows them to shrug off the laser blast from the Fraction flyers. As they get closer to the wall, Barry looks at Jessie. "You're up, Liberty Bell," he shouts, and she nods, pulling forward, uttering the Speed Force equation that allows her to channel it into super strength. She lashes out at the wall, punching a hole through it. Back in the past, when they were all hearing the plan, they were all happy about it. And that's when Iray jumped up and down that she was going to get her dad back. But Linda looks at Barry and knows that something isn't right. Back in the battle, the family has now bursted through the wall, with Admiral Vell ordering the antenna to fire upon them like it did Wally. "We're almost over our target," the young conduit shouts to the others. The family leap into the air, vibrating through the ground, dropping them inside of the ship. But back in the past, Linda finds Barry as he's getting ready. "What aren't you telling us?" she asks, pointing out that she was an investigative reporter and knows that he is lying. Barry looks at her and explains, "Wally won't be coming back. The Flash family members are connected to the Speed Force, so all of them remain outside of the realms of time. They are paradoxes in and of themselves. I'm sorry," he tells her quietly. The two hug and they mourn before they're interrupted by Iray. "Mom, are you okay?" she asks, and Linda smiles at her daughter, leading her out of the room. Yes, honey. These are happy tears. Come on. Let's go find a good hiding spot for Jai while we go save your father. She tells her. Meanwhile, during all of this, inside of the spire, Jay Garrick was captured and has freed himself and has taken the guns and weapons of the Fraction. He's now sneaking through the vents armed with a big alien blaster, and he drops down into the corridor facing two soldiers. Hey, boys, he says with a smile before raising the weapon and firing it, dropping them both. Hope I'm not too late to the party, he says to himself as he keeps moving. The family themselves have dropped into the ship with the living conduit telling them that they need to go. Then let's go! Sooner we get there, sooner my dad is back! Iray shouts with glee, but the family is stopped by Admiral Vel and his generals. I'm afraid your father is not coming back, small one, but if you come with us, we can use you, give you purpose, Vel says with a smile. The others look to Barry for what to do next, but he sees Jay moving in the shadows behind the Fraction. Barry glares at Vel, telling him that they have another option. Fight! He snaps, and Jay leaps out of the shadows, opening fire, allowing Barry to rush forward, slamming into Admiral Vel. Flash family forward! He shouts, and the rest of the family join in the fight, with Iray having fun by kicking the Fraction in the groin. Barry knocks Vel to the ground and keeps hammering him with punches. You took everything from me! He shouts, but Vel catches his fist, throwing him back up to the surface. Not yet! He snarls, and Barry looks up as the Fraction crafts approach him. Vel leaps up, stalking towards him. There's no one left to save you. It's over. But somewhere, sometime, lost in the space and time continuum, Wally opens up his eyes to see a caveman and a dinosaur leaning over him. Huh? He gasps in surprise, turning as the gold beetle appears. It's okay! You're okay! She says, and Wally looks at her asking where is he. She smiles, motioning to the team of heroes behind her. Right where you're supposed to be! It's called the Time Point. We renamed it a while ago. Welcome to Planet Flash, she says with joy. She turns to the rest of the heroes, motioning to the gold bug vehicle behind them. Everyone into the gold bug, and don't forget to grab your artificial conduit vests. After this, I promise to return you to whatever time you want, she says as she helps Wally to his feet, explaining that he isn't dead, that he was just supercharged with Speed Force energy. And I melted, Wally tells her. She explains that the Speed Force actually dematerialized him as a defense mechanism and spit him outside of space and time to Planet Flash. It used to be called the Time Point, but when we started our team, you changed it to Planet Flash, she explains, and Wally is confused. He asks about the team of heroes, but Gold Beetle tells him that he asked her to gather a team and bring them here. And I am so very excited to explain this to you. She begins to explain that everybody who seemingly died in the Heroes in Crisis event, she went back and saved them right before they actually died. But before she could go in depth into what she actually did, Wally finally stops her. Wait, I'll have to hear this later. The Earth is being attacked, he tells her, and she nods, telling him that this is why the heroes have been gathered. The artificial conduit vests will allow each of them to help for 1 minute before they're slowed back down. She motions to the ship. Come on, it's gonna be fun, she shouts with joy. Back on Earth, Vel is gloating as the Flash family continues their battle, but Barry rushes forward, slamming into him with his fist, throwing him to the ground. He grabs a hold of his vest, ripping it off. Let's see how you do without your vest, he shouts, leaving Vel frozen on the ground. No way to move in speed time. Barry returns to the family, telling them to stick to the plan, though Jay points out that they're going to need a distraction to get past all of the Fraction forces. Up above them, the Gold Beetle appears and the heroes leap out. Let's kick some Kerfrits! Gold Beetle shouts with joy, and Barry orders the family to continue with the plan, but Iray is stopped by Miss Murder as she leaps down with her hounds. You're not going anywhere, little girl, she says in Iray's mind. Sorry, lady. Uncle Barry says I need to leave, Iray says to her defiantly. But Ugg leaps in the way of Miss Murder. He then turns, motioning to Iray. Ugg! He shouts, and Iray turns to leave. Thanks, Mr. Caveman, sir? She shouts, and Ugg turns, rushing at Miss Murder. As the battle continues, Wally and Gold Beetle leap into a tank to continue fighting, but all of the new heroes hit their 1 minute mark and freeze in time. Vel's generals are searching for him, and are shocked to find the Admiral can still move without his vest. Your harness is destroyed, but you're moving. That means you're an organic, the generals realize. They suddenly turn on Vel as he shouts at them that the Empress knew that he was an organic, but ordered him to keep it a secret, knowing that the Fraction would never accept him. The generals don't believe him and order the fraction to turn on their leader. With a bellow of rage, Vel rushes into them, tapping into the Speed Force. Meanwhile, the Flash family has reached the base of the antenna. After a pep talk from Max Mercury, who believes that every member of the Flash family is supposed to be here at this exact moment, the family leap down and begin running. Let's do this! Together! Barry urges them all. But as Vel has defeated his generals and moves into the chamber, he realizes what the Flash family is trying to do. And he knows how to defeat them. But he doesn't get a chance. Hey, Sparky! Look out below. Wally shouts as he leaps down, kicking into Vel at super speed. You! Vel snaps and Wally nods. Yeah, me, the Flash, the guy who's about to kick your butt. The two of them launch into a speed fight, raining blows on each other until Wally manages to kick Vel into one of the conduit battery compartments. He then rushes forward, slamming the compartment shut. This must be one of those batteries that Impulse and Kid Flash told me about, which means if what I hear is right, you are about to send every one of us wearing those harnesses back in time, he says with a smile as Vel is pounding on the battery. The Speed Force begins to crackle all around them as time begins to rewind. The devastation of the city is reversed as the fractions haven't even arrived yet. And Wally looks at Vel and smiles. Nighty-night, loser. 1 minute earlier. The fraction generals look around the bridge, shocked that their admiral has suddenly disappeared. The highest-ranking general turns to the bridge crew and orders them to turn around, not wishing to continue the invasion without knowing what happened to their admiral, knowing that they can always return. Below them on Earth, Iray rushes into the arms of her father, and the family celebrates. I told you it'd be fun! Gold Beetle cheers as their team gathers, but Barry has already rushed away. He runs back to the restaurant where he and Iris were having their dinner. She's angry that he seemingly disappeared, but he bursts through the door, telling her that he wants nothing more than to spend the rest of his life with her. I love you, Iris West, and nothing in the world is going to stop me from loving you from now until forever, he tells her as they embrace. Everyone in the restaurant cheers as they kiss. Back at Wally's house, he says goodbye to Gold Beetle and her team, and he offers to have them come in and join the party that they're having. But Gold Beetle politely declines. I can't. When Jai and I meet in the future for the first time, it's special. I don't want to ruin either of our memories of that. Besides, I have to drop a few of these guys back into their own time zones, trying to make sense of all of this weird continuity that I created. The living conduit then joins them, but first hugs Linda goodbye. You know, I never heard your name, she says, and he smiles at her. Wade. My parents named me Wade after a cool relative or something. She tells him, and Linda hugs him, remembering that Wally has a cool uncle named Wade. But she shrugs off the thought. Wally and Linda hug for a moment before heading back to the party with their friends and family. Elsewhere, Impulse has joined Max Mercury in the desert, telling him that he wants to travel to the next time with him. We're family, Max. Wherever you go, I go. Come on, let's see what's next. It should be fun, Impulse says, and he and Max start running. The Speed Force gathers around them as they're about to break the barrier and run into the future. Up in the snowy mountains, Wallace puts a hand to his ear, arguing with Wally that he won't be babysitting. There's a long pause as Wally makes his case. Really? Okay, for that, I'll do it. Wallace finally agrees, turning with a smile as he hangs up. He must be really desperate to agree to that. Well, guess I'm on babysitting duty. Meanwhile, Jai, Irie, and Maxine come rushing out of their school, planning for their sleepover tonight. One that Jai is particularly happy about. But they're shocked to find Wallace waiting for them outside. Where's Mom and Dad? Irie asks as the kids run up to their Uncle Wallace. They wanted a date night, so I agreed to watch you for a few hours. Wallace explains what's going on, and the kids cheer about their night of pizza, ice cream, and patrolling. But Wallace looks at them in surprise. Patrol? No, there's no patrol. Wait, Maxine's coming over? He begins to question, and Jai smiles at his uncle. My dad totally hosed you on this one, didn't he? Wallace finally relents, turning away, telling the kids that they're off to get pizza, but he doesn't see them start to glow behind him. As he turns back, all three of the kids have disappeared into a purple light. Oh, already? I am so in trouble, Wallace whispers. The kids are pulled through the portal, yelling as they feel their bodies trying to split. Finally, they're dumped onto the ground and they look around in surprise. Hello, kids! It's been a while. Knives Maroney says as he steps out of the shadows, a hideous smile playing on his youthful face. "What do you want, Knives?" Jai snaps, stepping forward to protect his sister. But Knives pulls out a knife and begins to hold up a strange purple belt, explaining to the children that he now holds a piece of the Eternity Mind. "With it, you can retrieve anything from time and space. No fuss, no muss. So I thought I'd try it out on you!" He shouts with glee, and the kids look in surprise as other villains step out of the shadows and Knives motions to them. "Allow me to introduce you to your enemies from the past, present, and future," he shouts as he introduces Dr. Nightmare, Reverse Grodd, Mineral Man, Foul Play, and Heatwave Jr. The villains begin to whisper amongst themselves, trying to figure out why there aren't more members of the Super Kids here. But Knives tells them that they will kill these three and the team will never get formed. Meanwhile, back in the main universe, Wallace is headed over to Mr. Terrific's. He begins to ask the superheroic genius for help in finding his young charges. But that's just the B-plot of how Wallace is going to save them. Let's get back to the fun stuff in the multiverse. Over with that, the villains are deciding who should get the first crack at killing the young heroes, unaware that another pair is watching them from the shadows. As the villains continue to argue, a young Robin and John Kent jump down. "Sorry guys, the Super Sons are here to save the day," Superboy shouts, with Robin tossing batarangs at Dr. Nightmare, while Superboy knocks the wind out of Foul Play. But a blow from Reverse Grodd sends him spinning into Irie. "Sorry about that," John says. And hi, blushing at the girl. But before he can react, Jai rushes to Grodd, punching him hard. "No one hits my sister! We need that Eternal Mind!" Robin shouts as he swings through the air. Irie doesn't hesitate, using her super speed to change into her costume and steal the Eternity Mind out of Knives' hands. "No, not again! She can't get away!" Dr. Nightmare shouts, beginning to use his powers to create a massive monster that is charging at them. "Let's go! Like now!" Irie shouts, and the young heroes charge away. But back in the main universe, Mr. Terrific has created a portal that will allow Wallace to find the kids. "Linda's going to kill me! Have you ever seen her angry? It's not cool, man! Not cool at all!" He whispers, but Mr. Terrific looks at him as he activates the portal. "She won't kill you, but you may have to leave the dimension," he offers as a way of hope. Wallace thanks him, stepping through the portal, promising that he'll find the kids alive. "Just so I can kill them!" he shouts as he disappears. He drops out of the portal into the strange dimension, and whirling around, he finds the team of supervillains that immediately rushes at him. "Not what I was expecting!" he shouts as he begins to run. Meanwhile, the kids have rushed down something called the Forever Corridor. Irie suggests that they take a break, but Robin insists that they continue forward until they can figure out how to activate the Eternity Mind. "Once I turn it on, we can summon our dads or more competent heroes to help us out." The kids all begin to argue, but John finally convinces the Flash children that they need to stick with Robin, that he is one of the greatest heroes that he has ever met. Meanwhile, Ace is continuing to fight the villains. "Where are the kids?" he shouts, speeding along, punching Dr. Nightmare. But Knives manages to catch him from behind, knocking him to the ground. "No idea, but at least we have bait to catch them now," he says with a smile as the villains close in on the downed Wallace. The kids continue through the fortress, with Irie explaining to John and Damian that Knives referred to them as the Super Kids. "That must mean that we're some kind of like super team eventually," she says happily. But Damian shakes his head. "I don't do teams," he explains, when suddenly the air is filled with the sound of Knives' voice. "Hey, Super Kids! I know you're someplace in this palace. So is your friend, the kid with the yellow costume and the lightning bolt on his chest. I don't want to have to kill him. I'll let him go provided you come back and give us the Eternity Mind!" Knives shouts. The kids aren't sure what to do, but it's Jai who comes up with the plan. "Irie, you know how Dad gets upset when we both talk to him at the same time?" the young hero says with a smile. Moments later, the Super Kids have returned to the villains and toss Knives the Eternity Mind. As the mobster holds up the magical item, a voice fills the palace. "I am the Eternity Mind. All that is can be again. You just have to ask," the voice calls out. The kids don't hesitate, immediately shouting for things, filling up the palace with the large animals and fog from Coastal City. As everyone begins to fight in the confusion, Irie rushes over to Wallace's side. "Don't worry, Uncle Ace, we'll get you out of here," she promises. Now freed, Wallace continues running forward and punches Knives in the face, knocking the Eternity Mind back into the hands of Robin. "Eternity Mind! Send these villains to the nearest jail in their city of origin!" Robin shouts out, and with a bright light, the room is filled and the villains disappear. Everyone cheers in victory, but Wallace opens up a portal to return them home, and orders the kids inside, not wanting to deal with the wrath of Linda. The kids promise to see each other again and act as a team before disappearing into the portal. Alone, John looks at Damien. All right, can we go home now? He asks, and Damien agrees, asking the Eternity Mind to return them home. But as the young heroes disappear, the Eternity Mind stays, dropping to the floor. All is quiet for a moment before a booted figure steps out of the shadows, receiving the strange item. Oh, what a wonderful little jewel. It can bring anything and anyone from time and space. How lovely! The old woman says as she reaches down, picking up the stone. Granny Goodness could use a new recruitment tool, the evil warrior from Apocalypse says with a sinister smile. It was a quiet night as several low-level criminals gathered to play cards and bet the earnings that they just got from each other at their own little heist. As the cards are dealt, they talk about the cities that they should avoid hitting, not just because of the heroes who patrol, but other potential issues. Gotham? Well, Gotham's chaotic enough that you might slip through the cracks. Metropolis? Other than the Big Blue, that city is constantly under attack. Coast City? Very doable. The Green Lantern's actually hardly there. Faded Away Man looks at his cards. Well, I heard Central City is tough, but I think that's all just hype. Everyone stops to look at him, and Goldface is the one who comes forward. No way, man. Central City's the worst. Ever wonder why no criminals come to Central City? The Lex Luthors or the weirdos from Gotham? You see, one time, the Joker thought that Central City would be an easy target. He had his Joker Venom all set up and ready to go. But as he pressed the button, that Scarlet Speedster showed up and blew the Clown Prince of Crime all the way back to Gotham. Scariest villain on the planet, and even he knows that Central City is a no-go. Mind Dancer says, that's nothing. You ever heard of Condiment King? He was trying to knock over the main bank, and he got as far as the front lobby, and then he was just in a desert in the middle of Africa. It took him almost a year to get home. Fadeaway Man looks at them all. You guys are all just making up stuff now. And the bug-eyed bandit asks, you ever run into those kids? Puppeteer chimes in. Oh, don't even get me started. I saw them once. Surge? That kid is as strong as Superman. He lifted up a giant over his head and threw him like a skipping stone. And Thunderheart, the girl, she's all over the place. She'll hit you 90 times and then give you a wedgie because it makes her giggle. Mind Dancer tells them, no. You hear what happened to Mordru, the guy with the powers of time and space? Well, he came to Central City and saw a little girl. This little girl stuck her tongue out at him. So Mordru, who already has self-confidence issues, takes the kid's sucker right out of her hands. Because who's gonna stop him? He then looked down the street and he saw the Flash there, just waving his finger back and forth. You shouldn't have done that. So what does the big wizard do? He jumps to another dimension. He smiles to himself, right? Feeling like he just got away, like he was safe from the Flash. But he wasn't safe. Somehow the Flash found him, so he jumped to another dimension, and another dimension, and another dimension. Finally, Mordru appeared at the end of the universe, the place where time ends and reality is being made. And the Flash was there, with his palm out. Can you imagine? The Flash chased him all over space and time for a girl's sucker pop. Mordru was never the same after that. Everyone around the table joins in a quiet, whoa. But Fadeaway Man tells them that it can't be true. All the money that he's playing with was stolen from downtown Central City, right next to that Flash museum, and I'm fine. Everyone stops, and they stare at him for a moment. You did what? Maybe we can all get away before... But at that moment, there's a knock at the door. Everyone sighs. Oh, we're too late. Fadeaway Man gets up to answer the door. You're all just being paranoid. It's the pizza that I ordered from Lex Eats. Look. And as the door opens, Flash is standing there. Hey, would you guys mind having a little chat? Next, we have the Max in the mirror. Bart Allen, speedster from the far future, lives with his mentor, Max Mercury, the Zen master of speed. Max's job is to teach Bart a foreign concept, patience, and it's going to be a very long road. As Bart gets up and heads to the bathroom, he wakes himself up because he's surprised to see Max is stuck in his mirror. Max? What are you doing in there? Max tells him, all right, listen carefully, Bart. I'm going to speak slowly. Flash and I are trapped in a temporary mirror dimension, and Flash jumps in quickly. And it's fading away, and it's taking us with it. Bart, the Mirror Master is loose in downtown Keystone. Go find him, and... But before the Flash could finish stating any words after and, Bart has already changed costumes and has knocked Mirror Master out. and make him release. Oh my God, what did you just do, Bart? Bart tells him, you left that part out. You didn't let me finish, Bart. It's not the same. Max, handle him. All right, well, he's your cousin. Max steps up. Well, there should be a mirror gun there. Maybe we can use that, and Bart picks up the broken gun. Can we fix it with glue? Bart begins to take off, and Flash just is panicking. Great, what are we gonna do now, Max? The kid is the attention span of a toaster, who knows? After going to the library and doing a little research, Bart returns with a fully restored mirror gun, except when he pulls the trigger, nothing happens. And Flash and Max are just fading away. What's wrong now, Bart? Just go find Steel. Steel can figure it out. But Bart notices the MPS meter on the side and has an idea. Suddenly, he begins to run again, and he stops in front of the mirror, firing the gun, popping out Max and the Flash. How did you do that? Bart points at the gauge. I charged it. It read MPS. I figured miles per second, and I figured he was tapping into the Speed Force. Max laughs. All right, that's some quick thinking. Well, it's still early, Flash tells him. Maybe the three of us can get breakfast, but before Flash could finish, Bart takes off as Flash is yelling, oh my God, after we take Mirror Master in, we gotta take him in first, Bart. Our next story is called Flash Family. As Barry and Iris get ready for their date night, Linda asks where are they off to. Wally tells her once a month they go on a secret date night. They try to hide it, but they always go to the same restaurant they had at their first date. Linda says that it's actually kind of sweet, and Wally says yeah. Barry is such a nerd. Linda gives them a playful slap, and Wally says, hey, I meant it as a term of endearment. I love that Barry can be that predictable. There's no one with a bigger heart. Except, Barry's date night isn't exactly what Wally may think he was going to do. You see, Barry started on the cosmic treadmill, and Iris asked if taking the cosmic treadmill for a joyride was really a good idea. Barry says that it's not really a joyride when it's your car. Besides, they'll be back before anyone notices. But this date night isn't exactly as Wally may think. Barry and Iris appear in the future, where they're suddenly attacked. Barry braces himself for a fight, but the robots are suddenly destroyed by two people that they came to see, Dawn and Dawn. They spend their time like a family, a real family. These are the neglected children of Barry and Iris from an alternate timeline. But now, they just have lunch. They stop some villains. They do things that a normal family would do. And soon after that, Wally tells Linda that Barry always showed him what it meant to have a family. She says that Barry may be a nerd, but he really is a sap. At that moment, Barry walks in the door, stating that Wally may have learned that from him as well. Wally wonders why they're back so soon, and Iris tells him that they forgot something. This time, though, as Barry and Iris leave, Barry tells them, come on, bring the kids. Wally asks, wait, didn't you just leave a second ago? Wait, you didn't, as he puts it all together. Our next story is called Blitzback. Deep inside of the Speed Force sits Hunter Zolomon. He's not like the Flashes who connect to the Speed Force. He doesn't channel it like they do. In fact, he has no tether to the Speed Force, despite being inside of it. He tried to use the Flash's cosmic treadmill to change his past. But the truth is, he's controlling how quickly and how slowly the timeline passes him by. He could stop it completely if he wanted. He thought about this long enough. He's Zoom, and it's time for him to leave the Speed Force. Most would call what he's experienced here torture. Being forced to watch your life flicker before your eyes. From the most tragic days to the seemingly mundane. He ignored many of them until he began to understand that even the simplest of interactions have shown him something, because it all adds up. After his accident, he became obsessed with becoming the catalyst to help Wally West become a better hero. When Wally's mentor, Barry Allen, revealed that it was Eobard Thawne who gave the clown the gun that killed his father-in-law, it first shook him. He was exonerated for the role he played that day, but not any other. He was confused as to why Eobard would lead him down this road to become Zoom, that he'd know how to cause a chain reaction like that in someone's life. His father-in-law was killed because he seemingly made a bad call. He left walking with a cane. He was fired from the FBI. His heart breaks as Ashley leaves him. He then became friends with Wally West and later became his enemy. But now, paired with Barry's revelations about Thawne's role in his path, the Speed Force has given him clarity. The greater the villain, the greater the hero. If Eobard created him, he could become a hero. There was a loud, thunderous boom as the lightning strikes down, and as Hunter Zolomon stands up, a voice asks if he is all right, if he needs any help. He stands up smiling. Oh no, I'm here to help others. I can never stop, not until Wally is the perfect hero. How he gets there isn't what matters. All that matters is that today, the Speed Force told me so. Our last story is Between Love and You. At a restaurant in Central City, Wally and his wife, Linda, sit down for a nice, peaceful, uninterrupted dinner. Wally notices Linda checking her watch 6 times since they sat down, and if he had to guess, she's counting the minutes until the inevitable. Sure, sometimes it's save the world stuff, but it's just as likely that it's an autograph or a waiter with an urgent note from Beast Boy, which is always not urgent, or maybe a clumsy cyclist, or... The point is not that these things happen, but that Linda hasn't noticed. Every blink, every glance at the watch, he's giving Linda the night that she deserves. But as Linda goes to wipe a tear from her eye about how happy she is, Wally knows that it'll take her about a half a second, and with that, he has plenty of time. 16 seconds ago, there was a disturbance in the Speed Force. Wally entered it and realized the hiccup that he felt was actually a trap. Someone wanted him to come thundering in. He tries to stabilize himself, but he's now out of sync with reality. But there's someone. He'd ask who, but they're too busy slicing away at his back, and the bad news, he's just as fast as him. But just then, as his blood evaporates, he figures it out. When he came barreling in, he bounced off a membrane and tore loose a spectrum of the Speed Force's energies, and it's all pointing to one person. Wally puts the pieces together and a mirror appears. An atomic mirror, a quantum barrier. Mirrors, huh? Sure brings a suspect to mind. Wally begins to focus his mind and body not on the pain, but how he's going to enter the mirror, and of course, it's head on. He blasts out of the Speed Force, severing the link that Evan McCulloch had, and seemingly put him into a lot of pain the way that he's yelling. Wally looks around. What is this? Linked? This tech you got is way beyond you, beyond anyone really. And that hiccup, did you cause it or exploit it? Either way, that's a question for another time. I need to deliver my least favorite Mirror Master to jail and make it back to Linda. Wally tries to keep his mind focused, but as he returns to the restaurant, he suddenly forgets about deceleration, and as the force of his speed catches up, knocking everyone and everything over, Linda stares at him. The world can wait, huh? She gets up to leave, and Wally asks if anyone else felt that earthquake. I'll tidy up. Thank you for watching today's episode of Comicstorian: A Full Story. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought about this and who your favorite superhero is. And don't forget, you can check out the Comicstorian main channel to get daily videos. You can join us over at Comicstorian Movies, aka Absolutely, the podcast channel, to get our opinions on everything going on in the world of superhero movies, comic books, and video games. Or you can join us over at Mangastorian, where we talk about manga. And don't forget to click the link down below to support us further. This hot sauce is a hot sauce that we have created. Hatch and Jalapeno is a flavor that we created, which involves infusing whiskey into a hot sauce. No, it's not alcoholic, and yes, it is FDA approved. Anyway, once again, thank you so much for watching today's video. I'll see you next time, right here.